taking part in the training session, then the medical team have advised the manager that they're not to train. Now, whether Roy Keane got that message at that particular time or not, I don't know. Roy Keane was totally wrong. Well, it was so wrong that Arthur told Martin O'Neill he didn't want to be picked for the next squad. So Martin O'Neill, as manager, is losing a player.
Everything's waiting for you. You can go your own way.
I don't think he's lied at all, because of them things that has been said and Wardy said that he's heard, they were said to me when we were sat in the office and he sat across from me and we were arguing. The C word must have been mentioned, I'm not kidding, 30 times before I stood up and went up to walk out. So I can see that he's probably said them. I just think football's changing so much, mate, and the world's changing so much that he should know by now that you can't go speaking to people like that.
First of all, I don't think Stephen was there. Stephen wasn't actually there, so I think he's just picking up on things, something that we talked about at the beginning of the week. Probably not anything more to really report. I think that differences of what was said. I think I mentioned that to you before. Definitely, as I said too, confrontation obviously with John and confrontation with Harry. John's fine, absolutely fine. Harry perhaps not so fine. I'll be astonished if there's not a confrontation now between now and November time. I'll be astonished. If there isn't, I'll start it myself.
Yeah, we are still talking about it.
Yeah.
Whew. That's the gift that keeps on giving the Irish football team.
But it's Groundhog Day, isn't it? With Keane. Like I was thinking during the week, Nathan, I started out in journalism in 1991. I would say the two words I've typed most often in that time, by a country mile of Roy and Keane. And I remember there was a kind of a joke we used to have in the desk. They would send you a text that just say klaxon. I meant Roy Keane klaxon, that he'd done or said something again. And it's just, I think when he was a player, when he was a magnificent player at Manchester United and with Ireland as well, people were far more forgiving because they were very admiring of him. But now that, like, I read Dan's piece today, there's a lot of interesting points in it, and one of the things I was thinking, the point you made was his age. Like for a couple of years now, a couple of years time to be a lot of young players who don't remember him. And it's like now you have some people watching RT and they look at Brady and they think, Clean Brady, cranky old bald guy. Like what does he know? And like if you're lucky enough to remember him playing, he was one of the best players in Europe. But now, like, Keane has gone into that grumpy old man phase that. You used to forgive stuff because of what he did on the pitch, but now you're asking, what does he actually do? Why should we forgive him?
53106 is the text, and we're live on all our social channels as well throughout the afternoon, so you can watch on offtheball.com or on facebook.com/offtheball, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope. So do get your comments in. I know a lot of people have had a say on this. Malachy Clerkin had a great line that it was like a pound shop Saipan. You've come into this since Saipan, Dan. Is this the craziest week as an Irish football correspondent you've had?
I don't know if it's the craziest. I still think that some of the Staunton stuff around Cyprus and San Marino, I think Bobby Robson on Liveline probably still trumps it for me. But it's up there. And for, I guess, if you were to sit down at the start of the year and, plot out what was going to be an unremarkable year because we weren't in the World Cup and this new Nations League concept, you could never have imagined that September would be like this, particularly, and I think it's been touched on, on this show and everywhere, that there was like a concerted sort of PR drive across the summer to try and leave the past behind. And for Martin O'Neill to come in and talk about his enthusiasm and so on and so forth. And I mean, I think
the cynic would easily say they knew this was coming.
I'm not sure if that's the case. With regard to, I think that the whole purpose of the drive was to forget Denmark. Little did we know that it will be the double header with France and USA in the summer. That's actually the problem. It's actually weird. Like, no one's really talking about Denmark as much anymore, other than naturally, like the Wales result and that were lumped in together as the last two competitive displays, etc., etc. We've conceded 9 goals in the last 2 matches. But when you think about it, I mean, that is the most damning thing, that it was like the attitude around this, the atmosphere around this unremarkable summer end of season gathering, that actually now is beginning to make the whole thing look more toxic than anything. Not the stench of like the 5-1. It's more so what happened since. I mean, you can throw in Stoke, you can throw in everything. It's actually what's happened this year that's the problem, as opposed to what happened last year. And yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Like, I mean, I think Monday was one of the strangest days I've ever had covering the team. You know, when you're sitting there in Poland and you realise as the morning develops that everyone is aware of this WhatsApp audio that's going around doing the rounds. And I mean, we had this, I mean, I think I probably spoke about this earlier this week, that we spent the day wondering, is this going to be addressed? Is this going to be denied? Where does that leave us? And in fairness, they did come out and sort of deal with it head on. But it didn't necessarily sort of dampen down the circus element to the whole thing.
So the Roy Keane side of things, and let's maybe get that out of the way first. So as you say, 25 years, you were saying, like an obsession in this country. There's no question he's one of the greatest Irish players ever to have played in the Premier League, one of the greatest players to have ever played in the Premier League. But has Roy Keane been good for Irish football? Has he been worth the hassle from an Irish point of view when you look at what happened in 2002 and the World Cup finals, and when you look at this situation as well? Has he taken more than he's given?
That's a big question now. It's something I've never considered, I have to be honest. It's a very broad question.
Is it a fair question, or am I purely from, I'm not talking about his ability as a player for Manchester United, but considering what a lot of people feel could have been achieved in 2002 if he had stayed, and what's gone on over the last 4 or 5 years, and his role, or lack of role, with helping bring this next generation forward?
I think it's a fair question. Like, I think most questions are fair, and I think it's one you couldn't come up with a pat answer, because you would need to put a lot of thought into it. Like, you can't ignore the fact that Ireland wouldn't have been at 2002 World Cup without Roy Keane driving them there. Like, even I remember being at the away game with Cyprus, which should have been one of the easier fixtures, and they ended up winning 4-0, but only for Keane that day. It looked like being very tricky. Like, he was absolutely outstanding that day. The 2 home games, Portugal and Netherlands, played out of his skin as well. But I remember being at the away playoff in Tehran, and an Iranian journalist asked one of the best questions I've ever heard at a press conference. He said to Mick McCarthy, "Is this the Republic of Ireland or the Republic of Roy Keane?" And you can still be still ask that question, because the national obsession. There's the amount of people I know who don't read books, and I go into their house and they used to Roy Keane's first autobiography, that everybody was obsessed with this guy. But you know, you asked that question, was he worth more trouble than he would? His overall contribution to Ireland over the years. And I read something, Gary Doyle, a line of Gary's today, it never occurred to me. He missed 77 games for Ireland between his debut and when he finished. And obviously there was he was in exile for a while after Saipan, but he missed. That's when he questions the commitment of other players. Like, there were a lot of times back then. Like, famously,
there's a consistent hypocrisy in Roy Keane throughout his career.
Like, go back to just when Mick took over, and he was the captain, appointed by Mick, the new captain, and he went AWOL before no friendly, that he was found at a rained-off cricket game in Lancashire. So there was so it was a bit rich. And I like the way John Walters stands up to him, because too often you hear this stuff, people were walking eggshells around Roy, and people are a bit afraid of him. But, like, he's just a man. He's flesh and blood, bone and sinew, the rest of us.
Yeah, I think that's the most damning, well, not damning maybe, but I think this is the thing, and I was sort of making this point in the piece today, and, like, there was a point like 15, 16 years ago when Roy spoke, everyone listened. This was gospel. And there was, and within the media, within life, there was Keane devotees who just thought that the man could do no wrong. So if Roy Keane was attacking someone, well, then whoever he was attacking was probably in the wrong. Like, they weren't a good enough professional. They didn't meet his standards. Yeah, and there was this assumption. There was always this belief, and like I loved the Paul Howard line on Twitter the other day about, like, every year since Saipan, like, Mick McCarthy seems 5% more right, or Roy Keane seems 5% more wrong, or whatever it was. And there is that element now that, as Kieran said, he's human. We sort of bestowed this status upon him, like that when Keane spoke, you know, we were sort of reverentially thinking, oh, you know, this must be it. Well, actually, no, he's flawed. He's human, and like and as I said, that's not to condemn him. Like maybe that's the fault of everyone that put him on this pedestal as well. But actually, what we're seeing now is that, you know, grizzled old professionals who have been around the game for a long time and worked with a lot of managers see through it. They see it for what it is, and as I said earlier this week, like that's the whole point with the Stephen Ward audio. The most damning part of it for me was the tone. It was a sense of, oh, Roy's losing his head again, you know, as opposed to Roy's losing his head. You know, you read Noel Quinn's book, and there's this he's almost fascinated by the movement.
Yeah, he was in awe of him.
Yeah.
Like, that book is as much about Roy Keane as Noel Quinn, but showed how people were obsessed with him.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. But that's a very good point about Ward's thing. Like, there was no shock in Stephen Ward's message. It was
he was
confirming
like, the rumours
here we go again.
But also I thought it was what was interesting from it was almost the players' fascination still with Roy and the craziness and the things that could happen.
Yeah.
You'll never believe this.
Yeah, but there was a tone of, we've heard it all before as well. It wasn't like, can't believe what's happened. It was like, well, here we go again. And I think that tallies, unfortunately, with a lot of the chat.
He would rail against it, but he's made for a clickbait age. Like, he's made for, you know, this is what Roy said on ITV about Gareth.
That's what Jared was making that point. Like, Roy Keane, the pundit, maybe is the future for Roy Keane. It's something everyone can enjoy.
He's become ITV's main pundit. He's actually he's moved up their sort of pecking order in the last. Like, as I said, like, you know, when Roy Keane's up after the ads talking about England, we're like, oh, this is going to be great, you know. But when Roy Keane walks into an Ireland dressing room, what are they thinking? And that's what's relevant here. It's not like, oh, this is going to be good. It's like, oh, here we go.
But I always thought it was really telling that he chose Eamon Dunphy as his ghostwriter for the first book, because he could have chosen anybody he wanted. Like, he could have had Hugh McElvany, he could have had Paul Kimmage, David Walsh, any of the guys around the time, the talk of Paul Hayward. But he chose Dunphy for a certain reason, because he wanted to nail people, basically. That's the way he operates, and he thought, this guy is a boot boy. This guy.
He didn't want someone who would try and calm him.
He didn't want it nuanced by about his motivation and growing up in Cork. He wanted to put the boot into a few people.
Let us know if your thoughts on Roy Keane have changed over the past years and the past week, even as to where he stands in Irish football. Let's go around the grounds in the Premier League. So there's been a goal at Stamford Bridge. It's Chelsea against Cardiff. Andrew Cheal.
Chelsea 0, Cardiff 1. A shock on the cards at Stamford Bridge. It was a long free kick. Morrison met it at the far post with a header back across goal, and Bamba, the right back, stole in to nudge it home from about 6 yards out. Chelsea had an almost immediate chance to level it. Kovacic with the one-on-one with the goalkeeper, but Etherington saved with his legs. It's Chelsea 0, Cardiff 1.
Could be quite an upset there as Chelsea look to make it 5 wins from 5. Manchester City looking to keep up the pressure on Liverpool at the top there at home to Fulham. There was an early goal in that. Let's see what's been going on since with Darren Stanage.
Manchester City 1, Fulham 0. A dreadful start from Fulham, giving the ball away, and Manchester City made no problem in terms of finishing that off. It was Seri who gave it away. Fernandinho collected, raced in towards goal, centred for a tap-in for Leroy Sané. City in front under 2 minutes. Sterling and Aguero have both gone close as well for the home side as Fulham look to try and recover, but it's Man City 1, Fulham 0.
There's also been a goal in the game at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth against Leicester. Alan Lewis.
It's Bournemouth 1, Leicester City 0. Ryan Fraser has broken the deadlock in this game. Played through by Josh King, took the ball on his right foot, cut inside, opened his body up and curled it into the bottom corner. It's Bournemouth 1, Leicester City 0.
Turning into a fine start to the season for Eddie Howe and for Bournemouth. Huddersfield against Crystal Palace. Derek Clark.
Huddersfield Town 0, Crystal Palace 0. It's been a lively start from both sides, it has to be said. A cracking atmosphere inside the John Smith Stadium, but neither goalkeeper, Jonas Lossell or Wayne Hennessy, has had a save to make. David Wagner, meanwhile, the Huddersfield Town boss, not too happy with a number of meaty challenges coming in on his players. James McArthur already into the book for a late challenge. It's Huddersfield Town 0, Crystal Palace 0.
Again, we're watching in studios Newcastle against Arsenal. They're midway through the first half there. Let's see what Lee Stott's made of it.
It's Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0. It's the home side who are yet to win this season, who are on top. They've had plenty of joy down the left flank with Jacob Murphy. Among that, he put a cracking square ball in, but no Newcastle player could get to it. Similar from the right side, a deep in-swinger from Matt Ritchie. All it needed was a touch, and it would have given Petr Cech some major problems. 4 corners to 0 for Newcastle, but it does remain Newcastle United 0, Arsenal 0.
Another goal at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City against Fulham. Darren Stanage.
It's Manchester City 2, Fulham 0. City skipper David Silva has just fired home the second after good work from Bernardo Silva. Got the ball to the byline, turned and played it in. Aguero had an effort, deflected off him, but there was David Silva to smash the ball home. It's City 2, Fulham 0.
All right, so that's you up to date with all the latest scores in the Premier League. 53106 is the text number. We'll get into reacting to Liverpool making it 5 wins from 5 against Spurs. We'll get post-match reaction from that game, and Kevin Kilbane is going to join us as well on Manchester City, on Chelsea, and anything else that's of interest in the Premier League. But before we leave the Ireland thing, and I'm sure it's going to crop up regularly throughout the afternoon as well. Kieran, you were writing today about the Seoul Olympics and the amount, hugely disappointing Olympics for Ireland, but the role that a lot of people that went there and that were involved have had in Irish sport. And I know as well you're looking at, say, the O'Donovans and high performance in Ireland's Irish sport. I was interested even listening to Joe Schmidt on last night's show. He was out with Ger and John Small and Johnny Murtagh. And Schmidt was talking about spending time with Aidan O'Brien and Joseph O'Brien and picking up little bits and pieces there, and also spending time with Jim Gavin and watching Dublin training and what he could learn. And it goes back, I think it was Kieran Shannon on the pay-per-view asking about Martin O'Neill at the World Cup. Were Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane at the World Cup just as pundits? That was their day job, they did their 3 hours work, they did their research for the games, or were they taking the time to look around as to what was best practice with what Spain were doing, what France was doing, while you have this gathering of the world's great coaches together? Were they trying to use it as a learning experience as well? Maybe they did, but there's nothing to suggest that they did. And that this is not, the Irish senior football team right now does not resemble a high performance unit.
No, because I think you're getting into something very interesting there, because for example, I remember a couple of years ago talking to James O'Callaghan, who's the high performance director of the Irish Sailing Association. And they'd studied what the boxers did under Billy Walsh and Gary Keane very closely. And you couldn't really pick two more different sports in boxing and sailing, even in socio-economic terms, with the background of the people who took part in it. But he was just looking at the core principles of how they do it and the reviews they have at the end of competitions, etc. And I was wondering about this. I think Kieran actually brought up on the paper review. Is there any review process with the Ireland national soccer team? Because it's there in all the other sports at high performance level. Like at the end of a major championship, go through everything and say, what could we have done better? Like, cause go through everything. Like, just even, I know it's a discredited term, but marginal gains. Are there any little things that we could do just that little bit better, give us an extra 1%? But I don't think that's there, Dan.
No, we've written about the upper echelon then, the suits, which haven't changed. Is there, and that question did come up, say, January, February after the Denmark game, as to what sort of review process took place? What questions were asked of Martin O'Neill?
There isn't one as far as I know at senior level. I know that all the underage team managers in theory report to Ruud Doctor, or they have a process as such, where he will consult and talk with all the underage manager, but the senior team is over and above that, and that's the thing. It is an interesting talking point, but the Republic of Ireland senior team really has never really existed as part of a particular structure. It's almost, I always say, it's like Republic of Ireland Football Club. It's like the senior team is, you bring in your manager, and if things don't go badly, if things don't go well, let's change the manager and get a new manager. It's not, probably the only manager we've ever had that was probably part of a structure would have been Brian Kerr, where someone graduated to the role from working beneath, whereas I think we've always viewed the role in different terms, and that's what the role has become now. You bring in the marquee manager, we're paying way above the odds, that you should be paying for that level of job. So they're not really answerable to anyone other than their employers, as if results go badly. But they're not part of a structure. They're not coming in as part of they're the top of a pyramid or anything like that.
Should they?
Well, it's a talking point. It's a valid point. We have it in our head that we need a certain type of appointment. We have it in our head that we need a certain type of manager. The one thing that must be said, that when Brian Kerr was there, it would have been the textbook appointment. If that's the kind of culture that you want, we hadn't managed at such and such a level, and did the players respond or respect that, etc. That would have been the criticism at the time. And you do wonder now. should that be what we're aspiring towards? That we don't need to have this sort of marquee Hollywood sort of manager appointment, that we need someone who understands the game. Like, for example, one of the points that would be made is that like a lot of our underage teams might play a similar system, and then you get to the senior team, it doesn't matter because they're completely different. You could play underage
from
football
one game to the next.
Yeah, you could play underage football for Ireland,
4-3-3 all the way
in a
up.
particular style, and then you get to the senior team, and it's not even a cousin of what you've experienced along the way, and that might be the way to go. But that also requires a significant. As much as we talk about this now, we know that if we went for an appointment of that ilk, that the questions that were asked of say Kerr would be asked. Is like, well, do the players respond to this? If we went for a homegrown coach, into the senior international job, we know what the criticism would be already. And that requires a major cultural shift. I don't know if they're interested, because
that's not a major cultural shift even. So there's a first major cultural shift at the top of the FAI that would be needed for that. But also in the way that we cover the national team, because the Irish team, like, I always think we look at England as been a bit of a basket case, the way like Ireland is arguably worse. There's so many journalists focused solely and stories searching constantly with just this Irish team, that if John Delaney was to go, do you know what, we need to do something different, we're going to appoint Lee Carsley, who's doing brilliant work over with the English FA, and 2020, it'd be brilliant to have the games here, but if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I want something in place for the next 4 years. If we lose our first 3 Euro 2020 qualifiers, Lee Carsley's getting sacked.
Because I remember after Staunton left, Niall Quinn did some press gig or some launch or something, but at the time he said, we need a wow appointment. And that has been the thinking, I think, since then. So go for Trapattoni, who had one of the biggest, the most gilded CVs in world football. So you go for Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane and their build of the dream team. So that reluctance then would be not to go for Stephen Kenny, because nobody would go, wow, even though it might be needed if you want to build a high-performance culture.
Is it even possible? And you spend a lot of time covering those kind of sports that have a very set high-performance culture and a very set pyramid system. But James O'Callaghan at rowing, at sailing, can take a lead and say to Annalise Murphy, we've done the research, you need to stop training for a week, or this is the competition you need to enter. Joe Schmidt has full control over what Joey
absolutely. No, there's a big difference.
The manager here, absolutely. It's the one high performance setup in all of our sport, but they've no control.
But there are things, I listened to Martin O'Neill's interview with Joe here a couple of weeks, that Joe did at an Abyssinian a couple of weeks ago, and he asked him about naming the team an hour before kickoff, and he was very... He mounted a staunch defence of this, O'Neill, but that makes no sense in any... if you buy into high-performance culture, that makes no sense, because how can you prepare for a game if players don't know they're playing? And I find it really odd, because both O'Neill and Roy Keane are big into American football, which puts so much emphasis on preparation and game plans and tactical approach, etc. That how do you think this is a good idea? It just baffles me.
Lots of texts coming in. Get rid of Keane. He's a dinosaur. He's toxic. He's got anger management issues. He's possibly the worst manager, assistant, or otherwise Ireland have ever had.
Thanks, Harry.
Maybe Keane was wrong, but why did Arthur wait till just before the match to step away? What was he trying to prove?
I agree. I sort of agree with that. I don't think Arthur. there's a theory out there that Arthur has won some PR battle. I don't think that's the case. No. I think it's about Roy Keane. It's not about Harry Arthur. I think in time this will be used against Harry Arthur.
I suspect he's not going to have a long international career. I think he might come back, but I think this has caused a bit of issues with him, to be honest.
Why? But what was Harry Arthur done wrong? And
the row happened 4 months ago. All right, so...
But had he been asked about it?
But he was named in a provisional squad. I don't know. He did interviews when he moved to Cardiff. I think it piled on this sort of drama to the whole thing, that you lose Rice on a Monday and then you lose Arthur on a Friday or Saturday. I think there's a sort of a slightly withering view, I think, towards Arthur within. Now, what I would say is significant is that they obviously felt the need to talk about reconciliation in the aftermath of the WhatsApp audio, the Ward WhatsApp audio. So there is an element of climb down about that. You can't dispute that, because they obviously didn't feel that reconciliation was needed in May. In June when it happened, but I still don't think that I think even listening to Keith Andrews on Thursday, he said he wouldn't sort of not play for his country because of a dislike of one individual. And
unless the general atmosphere around the place was toxic. Like I don't go along with this thing that John Walters came back.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if there's anybody who could have any sort of row with John Walters that was going to end with him leaving Ireland not on his terms.
Yeah.
Like he may well be back to prove a point.
If you go back to the time he questioned Aidan McGeady very publicly in a press conference, like surely that stuff. There's been other stuff that's caused problems that Keane has said.
Yeah, there's been other little incidents. No doubt. I think probably Keane, like he probably would respect Arthur more if he probably confronted him head on, you know, and actually was he challenging him in some way? That is another theory. Was this sort of a let's goad them into action here? Which like
instead of an army boot camp, I'm just going to take it on myself.
I mean, wasn't Liam Lauren speaking during the week about how Keane actually, in hindsight, said he respected him for like taking him on whenever they had their skirmish. I think that that's what Keane possibly wants. But anyway, I'm just making the point. Like, I mean, maybe there's a different view out there, but I don't necessarily think that Harry Arthur has played a blinder in terms of you know how he's handled the overall thing. I mean, I think maybe since the audio come out, there probably is more sympathy towards Arthur if that's the version of what happened. But at the same time, I still think, you know, he's got 13 caps. You know, time is precious, and I'm not sure if signing himself out in the long run will reflect well.
All right, let us know what you think, whether Harry Arthur should come back. Before we go to ads, and we'll chat to Kevin Kilbane for, well, get his thoughts on whether there's any new thoughts on what's happened over the last week. We've spoken about nothing else really, but possible big shock in the Premier League. Chelsea unbeaten so far, trailing to Cardiff City. Let's see what's happening at Stamford Bridge from Andrew Cheal.
Chelsea 0, Cardiff 1. Bamba's goal still keeps the visitors ahead. Chelsea dominating possession, Cardiff 10 men behind the ball. If that wasn't the game plan before the goal, it certainly is now, and some of Cardiff's time wasting is blatant. Chelsea have had a half-decent chance. Alonso picked out Pedro with a lovely 40-yard ball. Pedro killed it stone dead in one instance, curled a left footer just wide of the far post. Would have been a fabulous goal. Chelsea 0, Cardiff 1.
Bournemouth took an early lead against Leicester City at the Vitality Stadium. Watching this one is Alan Lewis.
Bournemouth 1, Leicester City 0. Ryan Fraser putting the home side in front with a very well taken goal. This coming after Jamie Vardy had two really good chances for Leicester. The Leicester defender Harry Maguire walking a tightrope at the moment, already booked for a foul earlier on in the half. He almost saw a second yellow for a foul on Joshua King. The referee deciding to keep his card in his pocket and give Maguire a talking to instead. It's Bournemouth 1, Leicester City 0.
And it's Huddersfield against Crystal Palace at the John Smith Stadium. Derek Clark.
Huddersfield Town 0, Crystal Palace 0. A really hotly contested affair at this one. Still no goals, unfortunately. The closest we've come is from Huddersfield, a Steve Mooney header that just flew over the bar. The number of yellow cards being dished out by the referee Liam Mason. Zanka for a tackle on Wilfred Zaha. Zaha himself has entered the book for a late challenge on Huddersfield Eye, and James MacArthur also in the book as well. It's Huddersfield Town 0, Crystal Palace 0.
No goals at St James's Park either. That is Newcastle against Arsenal. Lee Stott.
It's Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0, but the home side continuing to be on top. Jacob Murphy, just a short time ago, profited from a dreadful slip by Mustafi. Managed to race towards the goal, couldn't get a shot off under pressure from Socrates, but then from the resulting set play of a corner, the ball fell to Yedlin about 30 yards out. He floated it onto the head of Murphy on the left. His header produced a diving, stretching save from Cech. He's kept Arsenal in the game. Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0.
All right, so that is you up to date with all the latest scores in the Premier League. City still 2-0 up against Fulham. In the Championship, Queen's Park Rangers 1-0 up against Bolton. Brentford lead Wigan by 0-0. It's Hull 1, Ipswich 0. 1-1 between Preston and Reading. And no Irish goal scorer there. I think it was Daniel Johnson who got the Preston goal. Graham Burke among the subs for Preston. Sean Maguire not due back just yet?
No, I mean, I think he's back running, but it seems to be it is an ongoing concern. The fact he said like something like 3 hamstring injuries in the space of 11 months.
Stoke 2-1 up away at Sheffield Wednesday. All the rest of the games in the Championship are scoreless. All this week we have teamed up with Virgin Media Sport, the new home of European football in Ireland. Their coverage kicks off this Tuesday, September 18th. And to celebrate every night this week, we're giving away a €50 one-for-all voucher. You'll also go into the draw to win a trip for two to Old Trafford on Tuesday, October 23rd to watch Manchester United against Juventus. We'll throw in €400 spending money as well to be with a chance of winning. Just to identify our Champions League mystery voice, who wasn't very complimentary about Kevin Kilbane's dress sense at a recent roadshow.
He was the archetypal grandad. Green cardigan down to his knees, slippers, holes in.
Kevin Kilbane there. Don't name him, Kev. Text your name and answer to 53106 for 30 cents. We'll announce a winner later in the show. And bear in mind, you must be able to travel from Dublin on the morning of Tuesday 23rd and return on Wednesday 24th. All with thanks to Virgin Media Sport, exclusive to all Virgin Media TV customers, now with more than 400 UEFA Champions League, Europa League and Nations League games live this season. You can download their TV Anywhere app and stream all the action whenever and wherever you want. You have 5 seconds, Kevin, to give a comeback before we go to ads.
What a dick.
Ads, quick!
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
Bobby's Late Breakfast.
This Sunday I'll have a little bit of fun with comedian Colin Murphy. GA star Anna Geary talks GA, Ireland's fittest family, and Dancing with the Stars. There'll be live music from Judith Owen and scrumptious food with Gráinne O'Keeffe. Plus, we roll back the years to 1963 and JFK's memorable visit to County Wexford.
Bobby's Late Breakfast.
Join me this Sunday morning at 9 and let me ease you into your Sunday.
On News Talk.
When you're a first-time buyer, it's first things first. So when finding a great low fixed rate is all that matters right now, Ulster Bank's new First 5 mortgage has you sorted. We've 5 great benefits, including the lowest 2-year fixed rate in the market. Just search Ulster Bank First 5. Ulster Bank. Help for what matters. Lowest rate claim source bonkers.ie, 29th of June 2018. Maximum loan to value is 90%. Security and insurance required. Product fees may apply. Over 18s in residential mortgages only. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Credit facility subject to repayment and financial status. Warning, your home is at risk if you do not keep up payments on a mortgage or any other loan secured on it. Warning, if you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Warning, you may have to pay charges if you pay off a fixed rate loan early. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
An old laptop you don't use anymore?
My brother never uses his.
Trade in a qualifying laptop at Curry's PC World and save a minimum of €50 on a brand new model.
Maybe I should ask him first.
Yeah. I mean, yes, of course you should ask him.
What about a new laptop? So Mum stopped using my iPad.
Laptops start at just $179. We've got Ireland's largest range.
Can we trade in my brother?
I'm afraid not.
Okay, thanks anyway.
At Curry's PC World, we help you get it right. T's and C's apply. Offer in-store only. See website for trade-in qualifying criteria and valuation.
I left school early, so my reading and writing were never great. It was like a migraine for the last 16 years. At home, at work, constant. How am I going to get around this? But with the course, all that has changed. Now I can read to my kids. Reading bedtime story to my kids, it means a lot to me.
If reading, writing, maths or technology is holding you back, take the first step. Free phone 1800 2020 65 or text LEARN to 550 to see how we can help. This free and confidential service is supported by your local ETB, Solis and Nala.
Bruce Betting, Sportsbook, Casino and now Live Casino. Download the Bruce Betting app to see why for the Premier League, Bruce Betting are giving you more. With price boosts, live in-play betting, cash out and ACCA insurance. Make Bruce Betting your Premier League bookmaker. Bruce Betting, in-store, online and now on your phone. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
This week at Centra, we have great offers in store, like Centra Family Meals range 1 to 1.2 kilo, 2 for €10 or €6.50 each. My Wadi Selected range 1 litre was €2.19, now €1.75 each. And in our Rioja wine sale, Finca La Barca Crianza was €11.99, now €9. Centra, live every day. Enjoy sensibly.
Healthy lessons for all the family with Miriam Murphy of Life Pharmacy Urlingford, one of over 60 Life pharmacies nationwide.
Vitamin D, the sunshine vitamin, helps keep the body's immune system healthy. As the days get shorter and darker, you may need to take a vitamin D supplement to keep the bugs at bay.
This September, Life Pharmacy has exclusive loyalty offers, including vitamin C for only €2 and multivitamins for €5. For participating pharmacies, go to lifepharmacy.ie.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, it's not all fun and games being the dog in this family. The excuses I get when it's time for a run, it's lashing out. The beach is miles away. The dog ate the car keys. Well, they've got nothing to worry about. Sure, they've got AA car insurance. They can drive any car. Newsflash for you, listen to me. I only ate the keyring, and I'd do it again.
With AA car insurance, our members get fully comprehensive insurance to drive other cars too. Go to the AA.ie and get €100 off today. Who's got clever car insurance? Excludes value product. Minimum premium of €280. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. AA Ireland Limited, trading as AA Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The annual MSL Ballsbridge Motors Mercedes-Benz Autumn Sales event is back. And this year we have even more savings across the range. We have price reductions of €400,000 across Ireland's largest selection of pre-owned Mercedes-Benz models. But these reductions are for 1 week only, from the 17th to the 22nd of September. So call into MSL Ballsbridge Motors or visit msl.ie/autumn sale to browse our stock online.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
You're very welcome back. Apologies for that outrageous comment by Kevin Kilbane just before the ad.
Shocking stuff, really.
The nation's sweetheart, they used to describe him, but there's another side to him. There's a Roy Keane side
the
to Kevin Kilbane.
Housewives' favourite has a dark side. Yeah.
Wow, Kev. What do you say for yourself?
Oh, I'm very good, yeah. Sometimes it's deserved, you know. Sometimes you need to back your corner or fight for yourself, you know.
Yeah, that's fine. That was you're right. It was a I don't know who wrote the script for that, but it was
unprovoked.
Totally unprovoked attack on your dress sense.
Well,
you've got some lovely clothes. That green jacket's very nice.
You may have a point. You know.
That Lecoq Sportif jacket you have, I like that one. But
that's a classic. Absolute
it's
classic.
all a bit Manchester for me, you know.
Is it?
Has been a goal at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea against Cardiff. Andrew Shield.
Chelsea 1, Cardiff 1, the equaliser coming, and deservedly so for Chelsea. Eden Hazard the scorer. A lovely 1-2 with Olivier Giroud. Hazard skipped past his defender and rifled a 20-yarder into the bottom corner. Pedro had earlier wasted 3 decent chances. Hazard's shown him how it's done. It's Chelsea 1, Cardiff 1.
Also goal between Huddersfield and Crystal Palace. Derek Clark.
Huddersfield Town 0, Crystal Palace 1. It's an absolutely magical goal from Wilfried Zaha for the visitors. He picks the ball up over on the right hand side. He's got Kachunga and Hadjiunai for company. He simply cuts inside the two of them and unleashes a terrific right footed drive into the corner of the net past Losel to make it Huddersfield 0, Crystal Palace 1.
Plenty of goals going in the last few minutes. Another one at the Vitality Stadium between Bournemouth and Leicester. This is Alan Lewis.
It's Bournemouth 2, Leicester City 0. Ryan Fraser with his second goal of the afternoon, played in by Callum Wilson, almost a carbon copy of the first goal, sliding the ball past Kasper Schmeichel in the Leicester City goal. This coming just after Asmir Begovic had made a brilliant double save, first to deny Vardy and then to deflect Maddison's follow-up onto the crossbar. The home side in control, Bournemouth 2, Leicester City 0.
So, Bournemouth 2, Leicester 0. It is 1-1 between Chelsea and Cardiff. Palace 1-0 up away at Huddersfield. Wilfried Zaha doing it again. And Manchester City 2-0 up very early on in that game against Fulham. The goals from Leroy Sané and David Silva. Scoreless still between Newcastle and Arsenal. So, Kev, guess what we've been talking about?
Yeah, I did hear the back end of it a little bit, really, yeah.
A lot of text coming into 53106. We are live every Saturday afternoon now as well on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter if you want to watch what is going on in the studio. Why do we keep forgiving Keane? How has he had a positive outcome on the team? Martin O'Neill has a lot to answer for. He's the manager, yet he just brushes everything aside. A change of management can only be a positive, says Mark from Monaghan. Dan, you were in Poland as all of this was playing out. Did it feel like we'd entered the end game? That this is all unravelling?
I don't know. Did it feel? I mean, I don't know if being in Poland sort of gave that feeling more, in the sense that, Martin O'Neill's demeanour was actually, he wasn't as tetchy as he has been in the past. He actually was sort of semi-relaxed about the whole thing, or certainly handled it reasonably well, I have to say. Certainly the one on Monday, the Stephen Ward press conference as such, he actually handled it pretty well. So
the
I'm
answer
not sure if that felt like
the manager, I take all the responsibility, actually was a brilliant line. It sort of diffused everything.
Cardiff felt more like an end game than anything. Like Poland was a friendly where they performed okay, but I think it was more so the demeanour around Cardiff that was more indicative of an end of an era maybe than anything. In terms of the Poland thing, I'm not sure if we had that feeling. I think maybe if we'd been beaten 5-0 in Poland on Tuesday, then it would have maybe felt that way, but I thought it was Cardiff that was more damning ultimately, and we know what's coming next month now. I mean, we are facing into we've been here before, we're facing into like 2 games to save your job sort of territory, really. And if things go badly, the public response will be more informative than anything. You know,
Keith Andrews was speaking on one of his many media outlets yesterday. He was on the back of all the pages saying that it's worse than you.
He's got more than Kev.
Bloody hell. It's outrageous, isn't it? I think he was down with John Giles.
I'm surprised Dan's in today. Sounds like he's a bit of a cold there.
Sorry, Kev. What?
Just got a bit of a cold there.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling a bit pearly.
Yeah, I thought so.
I went to there was a Stella Maris on Thursday. That's what it was.
Yeah, where he said that basically if O'Neill loses the 2 games, he'll have to go.
Yeah.
Which I think, is that fair enough, Kev, that if Ireland were to lose at home against Denmark and Wales, that has to be the end of it?
Well, it depends. The financial implications as well for the FAI, doesn't it? We know that's going to cause problems for them. Ultimately, it's still not the start of a campaign. The campaign doesn't start until next year. So
this is the start of the campaign.
No, I know it is. But that's the line that'll be thrown out, won't it? If that were to be the case, if we totally miscued these next 2 games, that's the way that it would be. The ultimate, Dan just touched on something that it feels like it to an extent that the Wales result felt a little bit like Trapp's game against Germany at the Aviva. It did feel a bit like that. Felt a bit like Mick McCarthy's game in Russia, that first game when we came back after the World Cup. Even Stan's game, I suppose, as well, in Cyprus, where it was almost like that was it. But you know, we have seen managers come back from it, but it just feels as though with everything that's going on. Keith also touched. I heard you touching on that before as well with Harry Arter. If he's had an argument with Roy, whatever's gone on, shouldn't happen. Don't get me wrong, it should not happen. But you know, is that going to stop you from playing for your country? Probably not. But if some people are different, characters are different. People are not going to be able to handle certain situations. They're not going to be able to deal with certain sort of personalities, and that's the way that it is, isn't it?
Well, that's a part of management as well. He's been able to read the different personalities. So maybe
it is. I don't agree with it.
You get the best out of Walters by riling him up.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I don't agree with it though. You can't agree with feeling intimidated when you're going to play for a side, though, can you? That can't be right in any way. And that's the same in any walk of life. If you're I don't know, whatever. If you're an office clerk, if you're in any sort of industry, whatever it will be. If you feel intimidation, then that can't be right, can it? I understand that people need to be told sometimes that things aren't going right, and there are ways to tell certain people. I wouldn't have minded a manager that would come on to my case, or even an assistant. I would never have an assistant, maybe to an extent, would be seriously on my case, but certain managers would have been on my case. If they do, then that's it. You get on with it. How do you respond to that? But we have now got a different breed of a footballer, of a sportsman, sportswoman in general. So that's just the way that it is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I think that's across the board as well, Kevin. Like,
of course it is.
Even in newspapers, there was a bullying culture in newspapers for years, and it wouldn't be accepted now. Like, because, like, I remember starting off, and some of the papers I was in London and stuff. Some of the stuff that editors would be shouting at people and roaring, shouting. You just wouldn't get away with it now. Like, it
was seen as a testing ground.
Yeah, but it was it was kind of this just kind of macho culture that you roar, like whoever can roar and shout and F and blind the loudest was, you know, the big kahuna, But I think the public will have a big say in what happens, because if you even go back to Mick's time, it wasn't Saipan or the fallout really, the fallout to an extent, but that caused the axe to fall on his head was being booed at home against Switzerland. I think that scuppered him. And if I think the mood is turning. Like, I was talking to one friend who's been going to games for 30 years, and he said after Cardiff, I'm not going again. I've spent so much money following the team. It's just, you know, I just can't justify this anymore. And if the first game at home is, doesn't go to plan, I think the pressure comes on then.
Yeah. Well, you think that 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, we had 45,000 people at a game against Latvia in the Aviva, because there was such excitement about O'Neill and Keane. And I do agree. I think it's the public that ultimately that's the most powerful feedback that you could get. And this is business ultimately.
But on the business side of things, so say results don't go well and we lose to Denmark first time out, and then on the Tuesday night against Wales, you're 2-0 down with 10 minutes to go, and the stadium is 3/4 empty as everybody goes out. Does their contract come into play, do you think, in terms of whether they stay on, or if they need to separate, if they need to part ways, do you think it'll just happen regardless of the money?
Yeah, I mean, that is, and it sort of goes back to what we were saying earlier on about the culture and high performance culture and whatever it might be, that this is a unique situation that like football in this country, the biggest driver of revenue is the senior international team. The business model of the FAI is that. It's that everything goes through tickets, it goes through that. So it becomes an equation. It basically becomes an equation. It's a case of, well, yeah, we do have a situation where the payoff will cost X, but, you know, qualification is worth Y, and, you know, tickets for next year are worth sort of Z, you know, and like you have to sort of weigh it all up, and they are the factors that determine these decisions. And if you're in a situation where, and it's been well pointed out before, that, you know, qualification for 2020 is so huge because, you know, getting the tournament, you know, co-hosted here was an achievement, to be fair. But if you're not part of that, I mean, there'll be triggers and commercial contracts, bonuses, everything. So these all come. With
Ukraine against Switzerland in Dublin.
It's another Europa League final. I mean, in Porto Braga. I mean, it's nice to have it here, but ultimately it's meaningless.
Yeah.
So that becomes part of the consideration. And if we're sitting on the 20th of November with, say, 1 point from 4 Nations League games, guaranteed to be third seeds for the Euros, and you've got one shot at it next year. The temptation is there to gamble, because you know you need to sell season tickets, you need to do whatever it is, and I think all those factors will come into it.
Let's go around the grounds, because half-time whistle's blowing in the Premier League. We'll start at the Vitality Stadium, Bournemouth. What a opening month it has been for Eddie Howe. They're playing Leicester City. It's getting better and better. Watching this, Alan Lewis.
Bournemouth 3, Leicester City 0. The home side cruising at the break. Ryan Fraser's well-taken goal put the home side in front after Jamie Vardy had a couple of really good chances for the visitors. Begovic then made a brilliant double save, first to deny Vardy and then to deflect Maddison's follow-up onto the crossbar. But then Ryan Fraser got his second of the afternoon, latching onto Callum Wilson's through ball before Joshua King converted from the spot after Ricardo had handled in the box. It's been a nightmare first half for Leicester. Bournemouth in control. Bournemouth 3, Leicester City 0.
Yeah, sensational 45 minutes from Bournemouth, on course to take 10 points from their first 5 games. Next up, we're off to St James's Park. It feels like it was a dull enough opening 45 minutes between Newcastle and Arsenal. Let's hear from Lee Stott.
It's Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0, and while the Londoners did start to show some glimpses of their talent late in the half, it's the home side have come closest to scoring. Best chance from Jacob Murphy. He headed a floated ball from the left towards goal. It provoked an athletic save from Petr Cech. About as good as it's got for Arsenal. Aaron Ramsey, part of a neat team move forward, cross from the left towards Hector Bellerin, who really didn't get anywhere with his headed attempt. Newcastle 0, Arsenal 0.
Leroy Sané back in the Manchester City team for the first time this season, and he made an immediate impact there at home to Fulham. Darren Stanich.
City 2, Fulham 0. Fulham gifted City the opening goal inside 90 seconds. Fernandinho collected Seri's loose ball, advanced and squared for Leroy Sané to tap in. Raheem Sterling crashed an effort against the bar on 13, but City did score a second on 20 minutes. Good work from Bernardo Silva. He centred for Aguero, who flicked it for David Silva for number 2. Fulham went close. Schürrle on 28, Ederson saving. Bettinelli saved well from Sterling in first half stoppage time. Man City 2, Fulham 0.
Where are the goals going to come for Huddersfield Town? They're at home to Crystal Palace today. Derek Clark.
Half-time, Huddersfield Town 0, Crystal Palace 1. A sublime solo goal from Wilfried Zaha is the difference at the half-time. The goal came in the 38th minute. The Palace man picked the ball up midway inside the Huddersfield half. He took on Hadjianai and Kachunga and fired a right-footed drive into the corner of the net. The home side have had chances of their own. Steve Mooney had a header just over the bar and a Chris Lowe free kick that flashed across the face of goal. Half-time, Huddersfield Town 0, Crystal Palace 1.
Half-time whistle just about to go at Chelsea, who have come from behind to lead against Cardiff City. Eden Hazard scored just before the break, his second and Chelsea's second. Cardiff had taken the lead after a quarter of an hour with Sol Bamba, but 2 goals in the 8 minutes before the break from Hazard have given Chelsea a 2-1 lead, so they are on course to join Liverpool with 5 wins from 5. Liverpool 2-1 winners away at Spurs earlier today. The late game is Watford against Manchester United. Quick break, plenty more to come though. Get your texts in 53106. We're going to talk about some of the big stories in the Premier League next with Dan, Kieran and Kev.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
Join that conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
Are you looking to advance your career options with a recognised project management qualification? The Institute of Project Management has set the standard in project management education and certification for over 25 years. Our certified diploma programmes provide access to level 8 and 9 qualifications and globally recognised IPMA certification. Enhance your project management skills, acquire recognised qualifications and move your career forward with the Institute's guidance and expertise. Contact the Institute at projectmanagement.ie.
Summer Sale. Summer Sale at Beacon South Quarter, Ireland's premier interiors destination. Summer Sale now on in all stores, including Beau Concept, Roche Bobois, Soul, Cube Kitchens, Caligaris and Mindy Brown's. View sale offers and other stores at beaconsouthquarter.ie and follow us on social media for updates and exclusive offers. Beside exit 13 off the M50 with 2 hours free parking.
Brexit. Hard or soft? No one knows. But if you are an SME or small mid-cap likely to be affected by Brexit and are looking to innovate or prepare, the Brexit Loan Scheme could help. Be prepared for every eventuality and find out how your business can benefit from the Brexit Loan Scheme. Loans range from €25,000 up to €1.5 million with a maximum interest rate of 4% and are unsecured up to €500,000. Terms and conditions apply. This is a Government of Ireland initiative delivered by the SBCI. Find out more at sbci.gov.ie or call 1-800 804 482.
This week at Centra, we have great offers in store, like Centra Family Meals range 1 to 1.2 kilo, 2 for €10 or €6.50 each. My Wadi Selected range 1 litre was €2.19, now €1.75 each. And in our Rioja wine sale, Finca La Barca Crianza was €11.99, now €9. Centra, live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Hiya, we're the Celebrations house band here at Lotto HQ. We play for every lucky winner and we've seen all kinds.
The criers.
The fainters.
And it sounds like we have a classic screamer right now.
Lotto with new Lotto Plus now has even more winners and more millionaires than ever.
That's our cue. We're up.
Again.
Great news for almost everyone. The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €3.5 million. Play responsibly in-app, in-store or at lottery.ie.
There's never been a better time to switch your family to VHI Healthcare. Because now, until September 30th, all kids go half price on all our One plans. So switch today. Call 1890 444444 or visit vhi.ie. VHI Healthcare. When you need us, we're there. Offer applies to under 18s. Terms and conditions apply. VHI Healthcare DAC trading as VHI Healthcare is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland and is tied to VHI Insurance DAC for health insurance in Ireland.
My name's Robert, I'm 52. I was working in an office and one of the management team started to bully me. I shared it with my brother. He said to me, Rob, no matter what he says to you, you are still the incredible brother that I know you are.
When we go through tough times, little things can make a big difference to your mental health. Visit yourmentalhealth.ie. Brought to you by the HSE.
Enjoy your independent time this Saturday. The Way, the Camino is a voyage of discovery for many. Weekend looks at the alternative routes on the world's greatest walk. Plus, Weekend Kitchen names Ireland's top 30 food experiences. Star Power, Tomás O'Shea assesses the career of the Kieran Cunningham he knows in Sports Saturday. Dal Delights, he's your children's favourite storyteller and we begin our Roald Dahl free book collection at Tesco. Irish Independent on Saturday. Take a fresh look.
3,000 minutes included in your phone contract and you barely use 60. Subscribe to over 200 TV channels and you watch the same 3. Even have a swanky gym membership, but the cards never left your wallet. Fancy a subscription that you'll use to the full?
Nespresso presents a subscription to the world of Nespresso. Choose your preferred plan and receive a machine for €1. Simply visit one of our boutiques in Dublin, Cork or Limerick to discover more. Nespresso. What else?
On 106 to 108 FM and at newstalk.com. This is News Talk.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Cliona O'Dwyer. Labour says reports that Ireland is willing to soften its stance over Brexit are a worry. Taoiseach Simon Coveney insists the country is standing firm amid fresh fears over a hard border, telling the Irish Independent there must be a legally enforceable guarantee there'll be no checks or controls on the border. However, Labour leader Brendan Howlin says he's concerned at suggestions Ireland may drop its demand for a bulletproof solution to help prevent the UK crashing out of the EU without a deal.
I've been worried about this for some months. I said that the
The fact that this is now going to be enveloped in the general discussions at the last opportunity of a council meeting is dangerous for Ireland. And when you hear phrases now being spun out by government, the greater good requires us to soften our stance, is a deep worry.
At least 12 people have died after Typhoon Mangkhut caused landslides, ripped off roofs and brought down trees in the Philippines. Almost 90,000 people had been evacuated from high-risk areas. Meanwhile, Hurricane Florence has killed at least 5 people on America's east coast. It's been downgraded to a tropical storm, but is still bringing torrential rain and severe floods. A conference in County Galway is attracting a wide range of experts to discuss living with cancer. The event, organised by the Irish Cancer Society, will be attended by up to 400 cancer survivors, along with their families, friends and carers. The Society's CEO, Avril Parr, says it's their chance to listen to survivors and share information about living with cancer.
Thankfully now, 6 in 10 cancer patients survive. However, many people go on to still have needs and they may experience ongoing fatigue and financial difficulties, perhaps because they were off work during their treatment, emotional difficulties, relationship issues. And the Irish Cancer Society is determined to do everything that we can to help. And today's conference is just part of that, and we're here to listen.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to Des Kelly Interiors. Our friendly staff will help you choose the perfect carpet at the new look Des Kelly Interiors.
Largely dry in the east and south this afternoon, apart from the odd isolated shower. Highs today of 14 to 17 degrees. At the moment it's 15 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
Alright, so the second half's just getting underway in the Premier League. Bournemouth 3-0 up against Leicester City at half-time at the Vitality. Chelsea have come from behind to lead Cardiff 2-1. It's a couple of goals from Eden Hazard. Crystal Palace, Wilfried Zaha back among the goals, 1-0 up away at Huddersfield. Manchester City looking comfortable against Fulham. They lead by 2-0. Sané and Silva with the goals, and it's scoreless between Newcastle and Arsenal. Watford Manchester United is the late game. Liverpool beat Spurs 2-1 in the early game. Kevin Kilbane is at Vicarage Road for us. You're going to be watching Watford against Manchester United. We'll get into that in a moment, but Kieran Cunningham and Dan McDonnell are in studio as Arsenal go in front, and it is a smashing goal. Is that Granit Xhaka? It is Granit Xhaka, free kick 30 yards out, top corner, boom.
Excellent free kick, the old dip over the wall into the top corner, perfect.
Didn't know he had it in him.
He needed that, I think, in terms of his sort of reputation being dented across his time at the club. But yeah, excellent free kick. Keeper maybe.
Keeper should have saved that. Should have saved that. Dubravka, both arms outstretched. It wasn't right in top corner. I don't know. But Arsenal lead by 0-0, and that was probably the way it was going to come, because Newcastle and Rafa Benitez were doing what Newcastle and Rafa Benitez do and making it very difficult for Arsenal. Chatting over the week, Kieran, you were saying that the new Nations League, maybe it's the gap that comes with an international break and friendlies, and you're usually delighted for the return of the Premier League. Actually, the Nations League has been a pretty good success. It's been interesting. It's not suddenly, thank God, competitive football again.
Yeah, well, compared to rounds of international friendlies, especially, like straight away, you see the difference. There was far more bite and an edge to games, and a lot of pretty good and entertaining games. And I would have to give Virgin Media credit, because they gave it the coverage that you get for a World Cup, like with 3 games a day, which is great if if you have a bit of time to spare. So there was, I think it's over. Like a lot of people were confused about it before it came in, and even now, if you ask somebody to explain it, a lot of people might struggle.
Come in, Kev. This is your opportunity.
Let's leave it. Dan's your man for that.
Well, between the two of you.
Any sort of problems I had, I just go straight to Dan. Dan sorts me out, honestly.
You confused the entire nation. In fairness to Dan, knew his stuff. You just brought him down was the problem, Kev.
Do you know what? It took me 6 months, and I'm just about there now, so I'm all right.
Yeah, you were obviously covering a lot of the games on Virgin Media and doing commentary and doing analysis.
Yeah, I'll just back up what Kieran's saying there as well.
Even watching the Ireland-Poland game, it was so noticeable the difference. Same Poland's performance. I know Lewandowski wasn't playing, but from what the tempo from they had against Italy on the Thursday night to what they had against Ireland on the Tuesday was really marked.
Yeah, but you watch Italy. I'm saying it as well. But Italy, you'd have thought Italy would have been. It was totally experimental. Mancini had virtually two different sides for the first games. I think he only kept Donnarumma and Jorginho were the only two that he kept in for both matches. So they're using it as a total experiment. That's where Mancini's looking at it. So. What you're saying there is right. I think it was notable. There was a lot of games that was played with real high tempo. There was some good games, I think, overall. Really enjoyed watching Northern Ireland, particularly in that game against Bosnia as well. Switzerland, look how well they played against Iceland last weekend as well, and then the performance they put in, the amount of goals and the manner in which they scored the goals as well. So yeah, there was a lot of positive, I think, for that opening round of fixtures. Yeah.
So you're at Watford this afternoon. They have a chance to make it 5 wins from 5. It's been a pretty brilliant start to the season. From what you've seen of themselves and Manchester United then over the opening month before the international break, is this a definite potential banana skin for United? Well,
I will correct you there. Right? They are actually 5 from 5, Nathan. So there you go. They've actually had a Carabao Cup game as well. So they have actually won the first 5 games of the season. But I know what you're saying.
Did they get 3 points for that, Kev?
Well, you say they've got a chance to win 5. They got 6 from 6 now, isn't it, today? There you go.
Just say what I did, Nathan. That'll do.
Yeah.
It's very pedantic.
This entire conversation could just be that back and forth for the afternoon.
Talking of style, though, Javi Gracia's just come down onto the pitch beneath me as well. He's looking well, Nate. He's got the all runners on with the suit and tie. Looks very, very good, but with the all runners on, so you'd be happy with that.
All right, that's good. Your tactical analysis then, Kevin, of the game.
Yeah, that's it. I watching. You would have seen Watford yourself as well. I think it's how they've started like this in the last few seasons, so there's got to be that sort of feeling around them. Are they going to be able to continue it this year? And he's certainly got the side playing really good attacking football. They're great on the counter-attack, but they were pretty much like that last season. And I was listening to Troy Deeney talking over the last couple of weeks. He was mentioning the fact is they were almost considered, particularly up to Christmas last year, that they were a one-man side with Richarlison. Now, Pereira's come in now. I know he's been there for a couple of seasons now, but he's not necessarily been able to really get a consistent run in the side and show a consistent performances. Now all of a sudden you're getting the best out of him, and I think they're a dangerous side, particularly the way that United will play tonight. They'll come here and dominate the ball, and Watford, with how quick they are on the break, Andre Gray would try and hurt United in behind as well. It's an intriguing game, I think, coming here today. We're seeing how they're both going to set up against each other. And I even talking to a few Watford fans earlier, they actually think they're going to win this game. They think, not a bother, we're going to win this game. Even though they've got a dreadful record against United, they've lost the last 14 of the last 15 games against them. So there's a real positivity around this place, here.
Jose Mourinho had an interesting press conference yesterday. Jamie Carragher voicing the opinion that Marcus Rashford should look for a new club in order to get more game time. Let's hear what Jose had to say about that.
It clearly irritates you that there is a perception about you that you don't develop young players.
It's not a perception. Some of the persons, everybody knows that they have double salaries. They work also for the clubs. And when they work also for the clubs, of course they are not independent, and of course they conduct things in the direction they want to conduct things. That's obvious, and that's human, and that's natural. It's not ethical, but I accept clearly. The ones that wake up in the morning and the first thing that comes into their minds is Jose Mourinho and Manchester United, I feel sorry for them, because there are much more interesting things to wake up and to be happy in the morning than to speak immediately about us and about football. But for the Manchester United supporters, I think it's important. They have the right idea of how things are in reality. But the most important thing of all is that the kid is good kid. The kid is good player. He knows what Manchester United did for him, starting in the academy, then Mr. Van Gaal's support, then my support and the club support, and the new contract and the new shirt, and being selected for every single match since I am here. Marcus Rashford was selected for every single match. He was never one day out of selection because of my decision, or because he was injured, or like in this case because he is suspended. He was never out of a selection. So he knows, and that's the most important thing. But again, media is very important, and I think is very important. The Manchester United supporters, they know the truth. That's why I'm going so specific about his numbers.
Facts, eh? Facts. It was Rafa Benitez-esque from Jose Mourinho yesterday. Kev, does he have a point about what he's done with Marcus Rashford? He's a very young player who he has given a lot of opportunities for. All right, he's not starting every single week, but he does use him. It's not like a case of a Dominic Solanke who's been used as an example there, who isn't even in the matchday squad for Liverpool. Yeah, I'd probably say there's a little bit of yes and no within that question there, because yes, he has given him the game time, as what he'd point out. There was certainly selection within his squad, and I don't necessarily think that he's given him the amount of starts that probably his talent does deserve. I think that's fair to say. There's been so many times you've been turning up and he's had a good game, or he's come off the bench and had a decent game, and he's still on the bench for the next game. Now, sometimes, granted, when he has started games, he hasn't always been at his best, but I think when I have seen that type of performance from him, I think it's been a United performance in general that hasn't been great. It's been pretty much maybe a more of a defensive-minded performance from Man United. So there's an element of truth within what he's saying there, but I don't deem it necessary for a manager to constantly remind people what they've achieved. You look at Mourinho when he keeps on going on about what he has achieved and what he's done with his players and his record of developing players. Why does he need to do that? It becomes across as meaningless as maybe
far
he's just
as I'm
reminding
concerned.
himself. Maybe it's a little giving him a pep in his step.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, well, you know for a fact it isn't that. It's obviously to remind people who's questioning his decision making. That's what it is. I don't deem it necessary. That's the way that I would see it, and I don't think he needs to be constantly coming out and questioning media and questioning maybe things that's going around. I understand that United, it's such a high-profile club that, you know, there's a number of the lads in studio will tell you that there's a number of journalists that'll be having to produce so many stories a week on Man United. We all know that that's the case because of the size that they are and the animal that they are, but to defend himself in that way and continuously coming out and talking about his record and in whatever it would be, again, developing players or his record of winning trophies, it's there for us all to see. Yeah. We all recognise and we all respect him for what he's achieved.
2-0 Arsenal, Dan?
2-0 Arsenal, yeah. It's Mesut Ozil. I think Dubravka possibly might have done better with it again, but they've been excellent for the last 10 minutes. I think the possession is like 80-20, I think, since half-time. So they've been really good. And yeah, it was sort of a reasonable passing move, a Xhaka cross, a shot blocked in the direction of Ozil, who basically, edge of the area. It was again quite central. The keeper might have done a bit better, but certainly completely deserved on the run of play. So
it's going to be 3 wins in a row from Arsenal. You would suspect they lead Newcastle 2-0 at St James's Park. An hour gone in all these games in the Premier League at 3 o'clock. City still 2-0 up against Fulham. Palace 1-0 up away at Huddersfield. Chelsea leading Cardiff by 2-1, and Bournemouth 3, Leicester City 0. Kieran, has Jose Mourinho not just given Marcus Rashford the number of opportunities that his form has deserved?
It's a hard one to gauge because if you go through the numbers, like he produced detailed numbers of the amount of starts and the amount of minutes he's had in various competitions over the last 2 seasons, and that seems to make a very strong argument. But since Alexis Sanchez joined, he's found it harder to get in. Like the ratio has dropped. And to me, well, first of all, I feel sorry for the poor lackey at Old Trafford whose job was to Google.
He was obviously rattled enough. He was obviously rattled enough that he felt the need to do it.
Yeah, but see, this is part of a cycle. Like, this is reacting to stuff. Like after Tottenham, when he pointed out that he'd won more Premier Leagues than the other 19 managers, he's obviously sat home and brooded and worked this out, and he's keen to throw it out there. He's reacting now to what Jamie Carragher has said and throwing this out there. You think, why are you getting so obsessed with this stuff? Like, if you're confident the numbers are there and I'm giving Rashford enough game time, you don't have to argue the case.
Is he into protective mode, that rather than spending all day every day thinking about what's best for the club, he's very much thinking about what's best for Jose, Kev?
Not Nath, yeah, of course there's an element of that, but Nath, you've seen enough of United though. Look at the positions where Rashford picks up the ball at times. He's picking up the ball way in his own half. What's he going to do with 50-60 yards to travel to the opposition's penalty area or the opposition's goal?
Is that not where he shows his pace?
No, but he's got no space though, has he? Because he's crowded out, because all of a sudden teams are pressing that sort of area though as well. It's not as if he's got free reign. Everything, if he's picking up the ball at times, you'll see him. He gets in areas within his own half where he's backtracked. He's doing a job for the side where it's constantly maybe helping out a fullback. He's not necessarily had an awful lot of game time through the middle as a number 9. And again, that's down to Lukaku. I don't disagree with that. But you've seen him enough. You can't. I don't think you can question his ability. You can't question, because given you're questioning there to Kieran on, has he been given enough opportunity? Has he just not played well? You could, fair enough, you could say that. But look at the positions that he takes up in games that he's not able to have an influence in the final third. That's the way that I would look at it.
I think the last couple of days have seen a worrying trend in Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville being used by Sky to have a go at the opposition managers. And look, football is built on tribalism, but like the worst kind is the online tribalism, which Sky, it seems, maybe I'm totally wrong, maybe this is purely coincidental, but we've had Jamie Carragher questioning of Marcus Rashford being used for Jose Mourinho, and Gary Neville with these bizarre comments that Liverpool should almost throw the Champions League so they can concentrate on the league and have a quieter part of January, February. That's what's dominated the last couple of years. It's very contrived.
But it's nothing new either, Nathan, because you go back 20-25 years ago, Alex Ferguson used to bring this up about the BBC, that the amount of ex-Liverpool players they had, and he thought there was a Liverpool bias there, and by extension an anti-United prejudice. So I think it's funny, I think it's more pronounced this season than before, for some reason.
So they had the jokey kind of thing. I don't know if you've noticed it, Kev. They had the joke on Monday Night Football where they had a bet and they were going to put the jerseys on, but they both seem to be talking about the other club more and more. And maybe it's because
and
Liverpool
I thought that was
United
ridiculous. I thought the fact that they actually did it, I thought this has cheapened it, because it's a slot that a lot of people really respect and thought that, it's advanced football analysis. And this silly bet to put it on the jersey I thought was a bit cheap.
I didn't see what was said, honestly. I didn't see what was said, so no, I can't really say that, to be fair, no.
All right. It's a huge advantage for Man City that they don't have the Man City players of Nicky Summerby or someone drafted in,
the goal.
Stephen Ireland has nothing else to do.
Get him in.
53106 is the text number if you want to get in touch, or we're live online as well to leave your comments. So, Kev, you got to go. You got to get ready for your commentary. You think that Manchester United are going to dominate possession in this game? Are they vulnerable when are they the sort of team that, okay, they've 70% possession, it's still scoreless, that they drop off a little bit, that the concentration levels drop, and that's where Watford can really get at them? Or are they past that?
There's a bit of that this season, though. We've seen it against Brighton and Spurs, because Tottenham in the first half, they actually played quite well, didn't they? But Alexis Sanchez hasn't gone away with Chile. I think that's certainly going to help him coming into this game. Luke Shaw, of course, it looks like he'll be out as well. So they'll have a fresher team, I would have thought, than probably had in recent weeks. Valencia as well, Antonio Valencia, he's another one that missed his country's games as well in the last week. So Sanchez, Valencia, they're probably new left, but they're going to have a fresher side than we probably would have seen in recent times after international break. So that's something that goes in the favour, I'm sure. Yeah, and I think in general, Nate, it's like we're looking at it here. I think they'll dominate the ball, but it's how quickly they move it. How many times we've seen Pogba slowing the game down from? I think even Matic has been. I could be critical of Matic sometimes as well, for all that he's such a talented player, but I think sometimes he might slow the game down, or he slows the game down too much, I think, when I'm watching them. So I think if they get Lukaku into the game early enough and the better players around them with that real energy that they should have in this side, I think they will win today. I think they will win the game. It won't be a stroll. I think the way Watford are playing, you mentioned there, 4 from 4, yes, in the Premier League, that is, of course, then I think in general that they're going to cause problems for United, but I think United have too much here.
They're facts, Kev, they're facts, simple as that.
Well, it's a fact,
the Premier League. You're going to be at Goodison Park for us tomorrow alongside Dave for Everton West Ham. Do you want to do a Neville and Carragher and use your legendary status at Everton to have some sort of a pop at West Ham? Wind them up?
No, I think I'll leave that one, mate, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Sorry, he's already done it, of course. Their central midfielder tomorrow will be going out there with a point to prove to the News Talk man in the commentary box.
Who's that?
It's Declan Rice.
What's he got a point to prove for me? It's a generalisation. It's not. Well, there you go. We'll see if he starts anyway, won't we?
If you grab a word with him afterwards, Kev, that'd be brilliant. You can find out whether he's coming back or not.
Yeah, do you want me to ask him that?
Yeah, do.
Yeah.
He'll say yes and you'll convince him otherwise.
Yeah, I'll go down to the tunnel then and see what he says, will I?
Kev, great stuff. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, lads. Go on. All the best. Take it easy, boys.
Kev. So Kev will be alongside Dave tomorrow at Goodison Park. That's the 4 o'clock kickoff. Everton against West Ham. Myself and Stephen Hunter at Wolves against Burnley from 1:30. There'll be plenty of Irish interest.
Plenty of Irish interest there.
Who
are you hoping to nab in the mixed zone if you get down?
But it's always been the highlight at Irish Sport near the third Sunday in September.
Yeah.
Wolves v
the one one year there's not one of the games of the season in the Premier League is the one day that the All-Ireland final isn't on. It's almost always like Liverpool United clashing with it.
Yeah.
This time they would have gone up against Burnley, against Wolves.
All those games will probably clash with the FAI Cup final. That's generally what happens. There'll be a massive Premier League Sunday that day, I guess.
So 53106 if you want to get in touch. There are some more goals going in the Premier League. Manchester City against Fulham. City starting to run riot in this one. Darren Stanich.
It's Manchester City 3, Fulham 0. City grabbing the third goal just 2 minutes into the second half here at the Etihad Stadium. Good work from Sergio Aguero. Down the right-hand side, he collected the ball, advanced towards goal, and he cut the ball across the face of goal. And there with a simple tap in, Raheem Sterling. Aguero's just gone off as well, and it was Gabriel Jesus who came on. He's also had an effort. Good ball from David Silva, and his shot from Jesus was saved by the keeper. It's City 3, Fulham 0.
Let's hear about that second goal then for Arsenal at St James's Park. Lee Stott.
It's Newcastle 0, Arsenal 2. Granit Xhaka opening the scoring 4 minutes into the second period via a brilliant 25-yard free kick that went past Martin Dubravka and into the left-hand top corner of the Newcastle goalkeeper. Minutes later, Alexandre Lacazette fired in a powerful shot which was blocked. It came to Mesut Ozil, who coolly slotted home. Arsenal showed very little during the first period, but they brought on Lucas Torreira for Matteo Guendouzi at half-time, and it's meant a completely different game. He's offering them tons more from a deep midfield role. Newcastle 0, Arsenal 2.
10th goal of the season for Arsenal, 10th different goal scorer.
Yeah, it's interesting. I suppose they had, when they started Purdy, I think we were in here on a Saturday watching them against West Ham, and they were all over the shop. And you know, they've been okay today. I suppose, you know, you have to give Emery that bit of time.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, for some teams the international break is just perfect, just to take stock a small bit, and they've been good today. Decent.
Lee was making the point that Arsenal made a change at half time, that Torreira came on in place of Guendouzi, and the change that may have made for Arsenal. There was also a change for Newcastle, we should say. Jamel Lascelles, the centre back, was replaced at half time, and Kieran Clark came on at the break. Kieran
Clark is in, I think Lascelles, they felt is obviously an injury, because I think Southgate was there today and they felt he was there to maybe have a look at him, but Kieran Clark probably happy to get back. Well, I don't know, I mean, they've conceded 2 goals since they've been on the pitch, so maybe not.
Let's see what's happening then at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea against Cardiff. Andrew Cheal.
Chelsea 2, Cardiff 1. Eden Hazard has been officially credited with the second goal, so that's 2 to him, 1 to Bamba for Cardiff, who put them ahead. But since the break, Cardiff much more positive than they were beforehand. Morrison's long throw was only half cleared by Chelsea. Rawls with the left footer fizzing just wide. Chelsea have had to make a substitution. Kovacic off injured, Ross Barkley on to replace him. It's still Chelsea 2, Cardiff 1.
Any possibility of a Leicester comeback at the Vitality? Bournemouth 3-0 up last we heard from Alan Lewis.
It's still Bournemouth 3, Leicester City 0. 2 goals from Ryan Fraser and a Joshua King penalty, giving Bournemouth a commanding first half lead. Callum Wilson almost got a fourth for the home side. Some sloppy passing allowed Wilson a shot on goal that was deflected just wide. Maddison's just had a shot from distance that was comfortable for Begovic. Leicester are making changes in Iheanacho and Albrighton coming on for the visitors. Bournemouth 3, Leicester 0.
And to the John Smith Stadium, where Palace and Wilfried Zaha were 1-0 up against Huddersfield. Let's get the latest on that from Derek Clark.
Huddersfield Town 0, Crystal Palace 1. Palace still lead courtesy of that first half Wilfried Zaha goal, but the home side came very, very close to equalising. Aaron Moy with a terrific volley from the edge of the area that hit the inside of the post, and then just seconds later, Hader Janai with an effort tipped away by Wayne Hennessy. Palace holding on. Palace leading here by 1-0.
All this week we've teamed up with Subway, lead sponsor of the NFL London Games, for your chance to win a brilliant prize. We want to send you to see the Tennessee Titans take on the LA Chargers on October 21st at Wembley, and we'll sort you out with €500 to cover travel and accommodation as well. To be a chance of winning, tell us which player was named Super Bowl MVP back in February. Text your name and answer to 53106 for 30 cents. We'll announce a winner later on in the show. It is all with thanks to Subway, lead sponsor of the NFL London Games. See subway.ie for more details. Dan and Kieran are staying with us. There's around 20 minutes left in all the day's Premier League games. We'll run you through the closing stages next.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Coming up this week, we'll go behind the scenes at Ubisoft Games to hear what goes into making a video game. We'll give you the lowdown on all the devices Apple launched earlier this week, and of course answer your tech questions.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Thanks to Harvey Norman.
Download the podcast now or tune in Sunday at 6.
On News Talk.
Hiya, we're the Celebrations, house band here at Lotto HQ. We play for every lucky winner and we've seen all kinds.
The criers.
The fainters.
And it sounds like we have a classic screamer right now.
Lotto with new Lotto Plus now has even more winners and more millionaires than ever.
That's our cue. We're up.
Again.
Great news for almost everyone. The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €3.5 million. Play responsibly in-app, in-store or at lottery.ie.
Looking for a stunning TV to enjoy your favourite films on? Then discover Panasonic TVs at Harvey Norman. Get the award-winning Panasonic 65-inch 4K OLED TV with legendary Hollywood post-production houses contributing to the features and video processing inside this TV. Film fans can achieve the dream of watching a film on the same TV it was mastered on. Bring Hollywood into your home with Panasonic. Visit Harvey Norman in-store and online.
Go, Harvey, go!
So, item 1, rebranding. What's the update, Michelle?
All done.
Within budget?
Yes, we partnered with Snap. They handled all of it. Creative design and production, the printing, promo and signage and installation.
And our online design changes?
Snap rebranded everything.
The entire nationwide project?
Yes, Snap is the largest print design and promotional product group in Ireland. Over 70% of Ireland's top 1,000 companies trust Snap. Need a marketing partner with quality solutions? Talk to Snap. Dublin, Cork, Limerick, Mayo and Galway. Visit snap.ie.
Some jobs need a master, a mortgage master, with dedication, focus, and expertise. If you need results, you need someone with decades of know-how, with no distractions, no time wasting, and no faffing around. Not a jack of all trades, but the master of one. For a job as important as your mortgage, that's EBS, the Mortgage Masters. Search EBS Mortgage Masters to find out more. Lending criteria, terms, and conditions will apply. EBS DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The annual MSL Grange Motors Mercedes-Benz Autumn Sales event is back. And this year we have even more savings across the range. We have price reductions of €400,000 across Ireland's largest selection of pre-owned Mercedes-Benz models. But these reductions are for 1 week only, from the 17th to the 22nd of September. So call into MSL Grange Motors or visit msl.ie/autumn sale to browse our stock online.
Cash in when you switch to 3SIM only today. We'll give you a free 3Money prepaid MasterCard with €20 to spend however you like. No long contracts, just all you can eat data with loads of calls and texts. Cash in today at 3.ie or your local 3 store. 3. Make it count. Subject to 3Money registration, 30-day minimum term, all you can eat data, ROI only. The 3Money prepaid MasterCard is issued by Prepaid Financial Services Limited. PFS Limited is authorised by the Financial Conduct Authority in the UK and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules.
Healthy lessons for all the family with Anne Smith, Smith's Life Pharmacy, Dundalk, one of over 60 life pharmacies nationwide.
Back-to-school bugs can really challenge a child's immune system, but taking a probiotic provides good gut bacteria that can boost the immune system to help avoid missed school days.
This September, Life Pharmacy has exclusive loyalty offers, including Kids Probiotic for only €5. For participating pharmacies, go to lifepharmacy.ie.
Bruce Betting Sportsbook, Casino and now Live Casino. Download the Bruce Betting app to see why for the Premier League, Bruce Betting are giving you more. With price boosts, live in-play betting, cash out and ACCA insurance. Make Bruce Betting your Premier League bookmaker. Bruce Betting, in-store, online and now on your phone. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
Set sail with Moana as she makes her European debut live on ice in Disney on Ice Dream Big. City West Hotel for 3 days only. An all-new production with Moana and Maui and their friends from Frozen, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin and Tangled. Disney on Ice, Friday 9th to Sunday 11th of November. Tickets from $19.50 on sale now. Additional charges may apply. Arrive early to celebrate 90 years of Walt Disney's true original Mickey Mouse.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster-than-ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
We'll hear from Liverpool's Gini Wijnaldum and from Maurizio Pochettino in a moment after Liverpool's 2-1 win at Wembley. But it looks as though Manchester City are going to keep up the pressure on Liverpool. Let's hear the latest from their game against Fulham with Darren Stanich.
It's Manchester City 3, Fulham 0. The hosts still in complete control of this game, and it's really a question of a desire to see just how many more goals City would like to score. They've had 3 good opportunities in recent games. Fernandinho, he's shot from the edge of the box, fizzed just wide. Gabriel Jesus on as a second half sub, he volleyed over from a good cross from Sterling, and Sterling himself had a shot on 65 minutes. It was deflected just wide. Nothing showing at the other end for Fulham. City 3, Fulham 0.
Bit of red card in the game between Bournemouth and Leicester. Alan Lewis.
It's Bournemouth 3, Leicester City 0, but a bad afternoon just keeps getting worse for Leicester City. They're down to 10 men. Their captain, Wes Morgan, has been shown a second yellow card for a late foul on Adam Smith. A little bit unlucky, maybe, Wes Morgan, but his studs were up and he made contact with Smith. As I say, I've seen them given, especially as a second yellow. It's Bournemouth 3, Leicester City 0.
So latest scores in the Premier League with a quarter of an hour remaining. It's City 3, Fulham 0. Arsenal 2-0 up away at Newcastle. Palace still 1-0 up away at Huddersfield. Chelsea, thanks to 2 goals from Eden Hazard, leading Cardiff by 2-1. And Bournemouth, as you just heard, 3-0 up against Leicester. In the Championship, some Irish scores, Dan?
Well, Ryan Manning has scored for Rotherham against Derby, which is probably, I mean, it's funny, we were talking a bit off air about the profile of the Ireland 21 squad, who were, I suppose, not to go back into the Irish debate fully, but, who were thrashed 6-0 by Germany on Tuesday. And they've actually had a good campaign, so it seems a bit unfair to maybe hone in on the time they got pummeled by Germany, who will do that to underage teams regularly enough. But it is still striking that our highest ranked player is actually Ryan Manning, playing for Rotherham on loan from QPR. Now, he has scored a penalty to 1-0 in a derby down to 10 men. Tom Lawrence, of course, who scored against Ireland, was sent off in the first half. Sent off just after half time, and a Manning penalty 5 minutes later. And Richie Towell also is on loan at Rotherham as well, is also playing. So
on the Richie Towell situation, so you look at the makeup of that Irish squad now. Is Richie Towell
I think so. I think he's getting there. Martin Neal mentioned him when I did a piece of Martin Neal during the summer. Just ended up not using it in the piece because it wasn't hugely relevant at the time. But now that he's on loan playing the Championship, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes into a squad, certainly. I mean, and that's where we're at. I mean, again, even we're not having a great year in the Championship this year. Last year Sean Maguire was the real positive, and he's injured as we mentioned earlier on.
Graham Burke isn't in the Preston team.
Graham Burke is only he's not even playing today, and he's only ever played in the home games. And I gather that there's a sense that his role is going to be a wide player, which isn't really Graham Burke's sort of best station. So, I mean, who's having a good season? I mean, if we sit down now and go, what's been the Irish story of the season? It's probably Ronan Curtis in League One, actually, with Portsmouth. He's actually made another goal today, and they're going top by the looks of it against Peterborough.
Callum O'Dowd on the bench for Bristol, he's just come on.
Yeah, Curtis made 2 goals, for Portsmouth today. So he's been the story of the season so far. Yeah, O'Dowd on the bench. Preston, Callum Robinson is playing today, but there was a time, in recent memory where you had 4 or 5 players in the Preston squad. Now Alan Brown's obviously injured. I mean, I don't know where we're looking for that sort of positivity. Who has been the Irish story of the season so far? You're struggling, and in the top 2 divisions. So, I guess that is a semi-pass for the management as well, and I think that is their view. And maybe
with the injuries as well.
And maybe their view shouldn't be their job is to be positive and to make the best of it, whereas I think that they're sort of beaten down by the fact of where the players are. I think that's Roy Keane's problem. I think that's a big thing with Roy Keane. I don't think he can.
He's always done that. You go back to go back to the Guide Dogs for the blind interviews he used to all the time. He used to always say this: look at where they're playing. Look at these guys where they're playing. And that's when guys were at lower tier Premier League clubs.
It's like a golden era as we speak of it now.
So that montage you had earlier on, and you had a quote from Miguel Delaney, and he was basically saying it's the lowest standard Ireland squad since Liam Tuohy's time in the early 70s, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. But even back then, people on the ground knew that Liam Brady was going to come through in Frank's statement, because there was a buzz about those guys. But I don't see much of a buzz. You hear very few guys like Jason Malumbi or Troy Parrott, but they're really young. But Troy Parrott's 16. You have no idea if he's going to come through.
It's not fair. There is a bit of a buzz about actually that generation that Parrott's in, and that 17s team. Yeah. And there actually is, and even the under-19 squad that played a couple of games at Wales earlier this week. There's some good players in there, but
Such a leap.
But it's a massive leap.
You look at Dominic Solanke, who does a piece on in the Times today, and he was turned 21 yesterday. Was outstanding in the World Under-20 Championship. Hasn't made the Liverpool squad yet.
None of them can play. I mean, I was looking at the Manchester United Under-23s were playing last night. Leo Connor's playing, a guy from Watford. But there are names there, and I think actually I've spoken to people who sort of cover Manchester United, and they've heard O'Connor's name mentioned in dispatches. So there's Glenn McCauley at Liverpool. There are names. Queven Kelleher, the goalkeeper.
But even like Queven Kelleher, a couple of weeks ago, when Carriers left, they said, he could be either third choice or second choice if the Mignolet moves over. But Liverpool signed another goalkeeper yesterday, the Guyana international. So, it's just
similar situation for Conor Masterson last season
like
on the
Champions League bench, but now you're going.
Well, even at the time you were saying this is a great life experience, something I'm sure he'll never forget. Yeah. But Liverpool, in all likelihood, are going to go out and sign. They didn't this summer, but next summer it'd be a surprise if they didn't spend 30 million on another centre half.
And when Lovren comes back, if Lovren and Matip on the bench with Gomez and Van Dijk starting, so it's just so hard, particularly at the big clubs. I think it's virtually impossible for an Irish player now to come through the big club.
It's such a huge issue that it's not the type of thing you can sum up in 10 or 12 minutes from top to bottom. You were making the point, Dan, about how it does all the time increase the pressure on the League of Ireland to deliver players, and is the League of Ireland ready to deliver players? Because I was saying, it was very noticeable, I found last week covering a lot of the Nations League games and doing commentaries on, I did Ukraine against Slovakia, which, two teams that are both Division 2 actually, like the Republic of Ireland, a very similar standard, I would say. Slovakia aren't a great team by any stretch, even though they've Hamsik playing at Napoli. I think there was 13 or 14 players who'll be playing either Champions League or Europa League football, because they have the opportunity to go to Portugal, or some of them are playing in Belgium with Ghent, and Genk who'll be playing Europa League and Champions League.
They travel a bit as well.
But that's what I mean. They will travel. Our players don't do that everywhere.
Either.
Our players are solely reliant on going to the Premier League. Which is becoming impossible for English players, never mind Irish players.
Well, I mean, there's probably two separate debates in that. I mean, I think actually some of our players could I look at someone like Sean Williams, for example, who I think could comfortably play on the continent. But I've spoken to Irish players about this, even guys playing in League One. I mean, a lot of it is just financial. Some of it's cultural as well. And, our football culture is weird. And we have to, it's something that we've got by for years. We've winged it for years. We had the most glorious period of international. When you think about it now, getting to sort of a World Cup quarterfinals and an 8-team Euros and stuff. And at that time, our national league here wasn't important. It wasn't even mapped. It wasn't it was actually a period of neglect for the league here. And it's almost its role within Irish football is very set. It's very there's people who just will never consider it to be a serious thing, and that we can debate. I am someone who feels passionate about it, but I mean I have to accept that for a lot of people it just doesn't exist in their lives. And so when something like that is so fixed, and that's the way it is, it's very hard to change that. But this is our new reality, that if we don't have strong senior football clubs in this country, this is where we're at. This is our international future. And it's not as if to say that the league is going to jump to a level where it's sort of comparable with Scotland or anything anything like that. That's not realistic. But maybe that to a degree is semi-realistic. But what I'm saying is that we need our clubs here to be producing players, and just keeping them at home till 16, 17, 18, 19. They're still going to go. You mentioned I think it is very striking when we play international teams, even like Georgia, who passed us off the park last year, and look at the profile of their squad, and it's not as if they're all playing at home, Ranton, but they have a little bit more of a grounding at home than they go and travel, whereas we're England, and English football's view of our players. I think Aidan O'Hara has done a piece referencing the fact that we almost let the English football establishment's view of our players coloured their status. So if someone's a championship player, they're a championship player. If they're a Premier League player, they're a Premier League player. But actually, some of these players might be more suited to, say, international football. But because he's only League One or something, we think, then that's that's where they're at. That's where the level is.
Like Wes,
exactly. It's a classic point. Classic point. But that's we've outsourced our football industry for years. We've outsourced our football development for years, and that just can't be the future. If that's the future, we're screwed. And that's the reality.
And there's a certain percentage I feel of League of Ireland fans who feel that it would be the ultimate stamp of approval when there's 3 or 4 League of Ireland players in the Ireland squad. And that's not necessarily a good thing with the standard of the league at the moment.
That's a fair point.
Just because we're so screwed for players, we're having to go deeper and deeper into the pot.
That is a very fair point as well. And again, I'm not saying that we're going to have like 4 or 5 international players, League of Ireland players in an international squad. But we probably do need to change our thinking. I mean, the standards need to improve to get to that level. I mean, I think that it's entirely possible, say, someone like Michael Duffy, when his clearance comes through, is he one of the top 30 Irish players at the moment? I think he is, but you want, I guess, I mean, Martin O'Neill spoke during the week a bit about the vision for the future, and would love to think of a time where the Irish team will line up for the anthem, and you look at them and there's the Champions League regular with Spurs or Liverpool or whatever. But I'm not sure how realistic that is, and
that'll be the odd one.
I don't think we can keep going the way we are and just presume that we're going to get a golden generation, and in 5 years' time we're going to have 30 players in the Premier League. I think that day is gone.
Yeah, because Brian Kerr's time in charge doesn't seem that long ago to me. Like, what is it?
13
years ago. But I remember the time there was a debate for a while with some fans of whether you should pick Lee Trundle. As far as I remember, Lee Trundle was League One at the time, and I think it was Brian might have addressed it and said we can't really pick a player from the third tier in England. He's not going to be ready for international football. But I think we are looking at that now.
O'Neill hasn't.
We are looking at that now. We will be picking players regularly.
We just look at Northern Ireland and think, thank Christ we're not there.
Well, you see Northern Ireland during the week, they had a guy, Gavin White, who actually has come from the Irish League, and they don't really produce players at all, but they've produced a couple in recent years. Who's at Oxford now, and he came on and scored the other day as a League One player. I mean, since O'Neill took charge, he hasn't picked an outfield player from League One until Darragh Lenihan and Derek Williams in March. And now this time, and they've got promoted since, and now he's got Ronan Curtis in now. He hasn't dipped below. He hasn't really gone to the SBL players, with the exception of Johnny Hayes in when he was at Aberdeen. He had Rooney, never really looked at him. Rooney's got a Salford now, which is a bit of a mad one. But we have to sort of start thinking about where we're going to pick our players from. And but I think that's the manager's job. The manager shouldn't be thinking, well, he's playing in the championship. He should know. He should have this vision to go, well, he fits into the way we play.
This is the system I play, and he can do a job.
That is the whole magic. That is the whole League of Ireland magic playing gripe. Is that, like, Sean Maguire was good enough. So actually, it wasn't a mad call. And you want someone who is a football man watching it to realise that actually, well, he was good enough. He doesn't need to go and play 10 games in England necessarily for that proof to be there. If you bring him into training, we have to do all that stuff now.
Let's go to Vicarage Road, because the late kick-off is Watford against Manchester United. Graham Miller is going to be watching this, and the team news is in. Graham, I guess most of the talk pre-game was about Marcus Rashford, but he's suspended. So what sort of team has Mourinho gone with?
Yeah, well, welcome to Dreamland, Nathan. They've temporarily renamed Vicarage Road for the time being. United have actually made one change. Luke Shaw didn't travel after suffering concussion for England, so the former Watford trainee Ashley Young takes his place. It means Fellaini is fit to start, and it also means only David De Gea and Paul Pogba have started every game for United so far, and that's a remarkable lack of consistency so early in the season. Watford, they're unchanged for the 5th time in a row. Why would you change a side that's got a 100% record? They line up, well, 4-4-2, 4-2-2-2, call it what you will. Looks to me not that different from the old Graham Taylor approach, and it would have been their revered manager's 74th birthday today, so he's got some tributes outside on the statue near the club shop, and it's going to be quite a day for Watford.
And sadly missed by us here and Off the Ball as well. Graham Taylor was a very regular on the show every Saturday afternoon for so many years. Great stuff, Graham. We shall talk to you a little bit later on in the show. So they're coming to the end of the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Let's go to Stamford Bridge. There's been another goal. Chelsea were in trouble, remember, early on against Cardiff City, but they've well turned it around now. Watching this, Andrew Cheal.
Chelsea 3, Cardiff 1, game over, and a hat-trick to Eden Hazard. This one from a penalty. Willian clearly fouled by defender Bamba. Referee pointed straight to the spot. Hazard made absolutely no mistake. It's Chelsea 3, Cardiff 1.
Well, they could rename the Vitality Stadium Dreamland as well, because what a day it's been for Bournemouth at home against really inconsistent Leicester. Alan Lewis.
Bournemouth 4, Leicester City 0. The icing on the cake from the home side. Ryan Fraser, 2 goals he scored in this game. He's turned provider for the 4th, crossing the ball for Adam Smith, who smashed the ball home first time. Game, set and match. Bournemouth 4, Leicester City 0.
Another goal at Stamford Bridge between Chelsea and Cardiff. Andrew Cheal.
Chelsea 4, Cardiff 1. Goal of the game by Willian, rifled right-footed into the top corner from 22 yards. Argument really about whether or not he was closed down properly by the Cardiff defence. The answer to that is no. But Hazard's hat-trick and one from Willian means it's now Chelsea 4, Cardiff 1.
Yeah, quite a turnaround from Chelsea. We were talking briefly earlier on before you came in about Eden Hazard and whether he's the most important player for one club in the Premier League, that the club's entire destiny revolves around his season. Is he that important to Chelsea?
Yeah, that's a good point, I think, actually. Yeah, I mean,
if he doesn't perform, Chelsea don't perform.
Yeah, I think he's probably, good season for Hazard. You could probably draw that through his time at Chelsea, and when he's had a good season, they've had a good season. So I think that's a fair point. Yeah, I mean, you could have said about Salah and Liverpool last year, but it feels like they're a more rounded team now. Maybe.
Yeah. I think Van Dijk might be there for Liverpool at the moment because. Like when he came in January, it's very hard to come in particularly come into a defence. And he still did well in the second half of the season, but I think you see the benefit of when he has a pre-season behind him. I think, like today, that was a 2-1 hammering. That was a very strange game. They should have won by 4 or 5 goals. And there's a famous line of Pat Riley, the NBA coach, the well-known NBA coach, talking about the disease of me. And you saw egos coming into play there with Liverpool. That the amount of times guys were in a great position, the ball wasn't given to them, somebody was going for glory, and Jurgen Klopp was going ballistic on the sideline over it. So what should have been a very comfortable win, because Spurs were absolutely awful, ended up they were hanging on for the 2-1 at the end. And it's funny, for all the talk of their squad being a lot stronger, the 5 games, he's kept the same starting 11 for 4 of them, and the other game there was only one change, Henderson in for Keita. So he's relying on the same amount of players.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does now, because they've such a busy spell coming up over the next while. You'd imagine you're going to see a lot more of the likes of Shaqiri and
Henderson, etc. Yeah, well, he'll have to, because the PSG game at home is huge, and that's only on Tuesday. They're coming thick and fast.
There was a brilliant. I don't know if you saw the game between France and the Netherlands the other night at the Stade de France, and Kylian Mbappe picked the ball up about 40 yards from the Netherlands goal. There's only Virgil van Dijk in his way, and Mbappe goes, and he puts on the afterburners, and he's sprinting full speed. And Van Dijk is in this sort of what looks like a slow jog, but his legs are so long that he's taking 1 step for every 3 Mbappe is. Speed past them, but Van Dijk sticks with him every step of the way. And just as Mbappe pulls the trigger, Van Dijk sticks out the left foot and blocks it down. It was an unbelievable piece of defending, and effortless.
Yeah, you wouldn't remember, but Mark Lawrence and Alan Hansen were so alike, so similar to the way they played. As you say, the stride, the different length of stride, and they just seem to be able to catch people and just get the contact in.
Let's go to Bournemouth Leicester. Consolation for Leicester at the Vitality. Alan Lewis.
It's Bournemouth 4, Leicester City 2. Mark Albrighton with a goal across from the right hand side. Albrighton heading it past Asmir Begovic. They couldn't, could they? Probably not. It's Bournemouth 4, Leicester City 2.
So they've got 2 goals in the space of 2 minutes. Leicester there. There was a 4-4 once upon a time, a famous one at St James's Park between Newcastle and Arsenal. Maybe, just maybe, there might be another memorable comeback for Newcastle. There's been a goal at St James's Park. Let's hear about it from Lee Stott.
Now Newcastle United 1, Arsenal 2. A goal in injury time, added on time from Kieran Clark, heading in from across from the right side. He put it past Petr Cech in the Arsenal goal, and Arsenal now trying to hang on for the win. It's Newcastle United 1, Arsenal 2.
Kieran Clark now a strong favourite to be the leading Irish goal scorer for the season.
Was
he the first?
Hendrick had won, I think. Has there been anybody else?
No.
Last season, 2.
Hendrick got the goal against Fulham, wasn't it?
I think that's it. So
that
far
was your stat last year.
2 was the leading Irish goal scorer last
Hendrick,
season.
Clark and someone else.
Probably not Coleman.
Shane Long, I think, got 2 at the end of the season.
2, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that is. It's the definition of a slow bicycle race, I think.
Quite a few texts coming in, as there always is when we talk Irish football. I'm involved in a League of Ireland team at under 17 level. The level of coaching going on is really good, but this is happening for years. And this is happening for years, but 20 years ago when zero coaching was happening, we produced better players, actually world-class players. It makes no sense.
I was out watching a tournament in Cherry Orchard yesterday. There's a international tournament on there this week. Aberdeen and Swansea and Liverpool and a few other teams are involved, and there was a Pat side which was actually drawn from sort of Belvedere and Crumlin and so on. and an FAI team from around the country, and they're really good. The FAI team are really, really good, you know. And I mean,
what do you mean by really good? Comfortable on the ball?
Yeah, the whole style of play was, it was very positive and sort of,
Physically, are they strong?
Yeah, it's funny because there was an Aberdeen-Swansea game on the next pitch, and they had a couple of players that were physically better, but I think people were saying it was actually a lot of under-12s involved in the Irish game, but there are excellent coaches and there are people doing good work. I think sometimes when we castigate the FAI, it can be insulting to everyone within the FAI, that there are efforts being made. It's not as if people are doing nothing. I think really the real mistakes were 10, 12 years ago when nothing was happening. So it's the guys that are adults now. It's the Callum O'Dowda, who's the youngest member of our squad. It's that generation where we're struggling because of things that didn't happen, 10, 12 years ago when people like Brian Kerr were lost. I mean, that's...
So does Martin O'Neill have any responsibility in that? I know he's saying 10, 12 years ago, but Martin O'Neill's in the job 5 years now. So he took little or no interest, it felt, at underage level. Yet the 18-year-olds who were there, the 16 to 18-year-olds could now be the 21 to 23.
I'm not defending him. What could he have done to improve their situations other than bringing them into camps and bringing them into squads? Like, what do people want them to do? I'm asking the question. I don't know. I guess we go back to earlier to style of play and stuff like that. You'd like to see maybe that, but I mean, I don't know if we want our
everybody is the rule. An hour before kick-off, nobody finds out the team.
Go back to front as quickly as possible. But this is the thing.
But I remember when he did come in. I think it might have been his first press conference or early on. Martin did say, "I've been told there's some good 16-year-olds," and that's at 5 years on. They're 21 now. Where did those guys go? So that's the problem with, even when you have promising young guys, it's really hard for them to push through. You do see that what Wales are doing now, as Brian Kerr pointed out in Virgin Media last week, that they are trying continuity with the underage manager or the technical directors on the bench and working closely with Giggs, and maybe there should be more of a connection that way, but I don't think that's just, that's not going to solve
It's not the type of appointment that the FAI have made. Again, it goes back to the type of manager you hired. Martin O'Neill is not a manager that comes in and works within some sort of structure like that, But if there is a next guy to be hired, well, then people need to accept that that's the kind of manager we're going. And as I said, we're going back on ourselves a small bit here. But
is there somebody out there?
I don't know. I'm not sure if there is. Our model relies on qualifying for tournaments. This is it. We there's no patience. We don't. And again, like the Irish football team, because just again, you go back to the sort of the idiosyncrasies of football in this country, that I don't think there's a feeling that we can't afford. Writing off a couple of campaigns because it is the focus for football in this country is the national team. It's not as if. In rugby there's Leinster, there's Munster, there's and the international team. Here there's the international team, and if, as you said very validly, if we lost 2 or 3 games with a whoever it might be, a sort of a gamble of a manager, there would be pressure on them. There would be. I don't think. Steve Staunton in theory was meant to be part of a 4-year plan. Now, he wasn't the right man for the job anyway. But he was sort of disposed of because it was clear he wasn't up to it. But could we get through a campaign with 3 or 4 points with a view? And Martin made the point, could I play a lot of 17, 18-year-olds and write off a campaign? I don't think people would stand for it, and I don't think the FAI can afford it.
Yeah, full-time whistles going around the Premier League. No great comeback for Newcastle. Full-time whistle is gone at St James's Park. Lee Stott.
Newcastle 1, Arsenal 2. 2 goals in the first 13 minutes of the second half, enough for the Londoners. The first, a wonderful 25-yard free kick from Granit Xhaka, and then Mesut Ozil coolly slotted home for a powerful shot from Alexandre Lacazette was blocked. Newcastle still searching for a first win of the season. Got a late consolation goal through a Kieran Clark header. 9 points out of a possible 15 now for Unai Emery. 3 wins in a row. Arsenal have won by 2 goals to 1.
But just the 1 point out of 15 for Newcastle and for Rafa Benitez, and it was another summer of discontent and questions over his future and not getting in the players that he wanted, and they're still starting games with today a strike force of Joselu. I know you have Solomon Rondon as an option as well. You do wonder how long he's just going to put up with this before actually the fans do start turning on him, because I think still it's very much us and Benitez on the same side against Mike Ashley.
Yeah, and I think this point's been made before, that effectively last year he stayed up with the championship squad, and you think more or less it's still a championship squad, and this he did it against the odds last year. This could be this could get tricky very quickly for them. Obviously 1 from 15 is tricky, but I think it could get very messy.
Not too messy at the Etihad Stadium. Very straightforward for Manchester City today against Fulham. Darren Stanich.
Man City 3, Fulham 0. A comfortable afternoon for City, who scored early and never looked back. Fernandinho won the ball, advanced and squared for Sane to tap in, and that was less than 2 minutes played. David Silva fired home a second after good work from Bernardo Silva, and immediately after the break, Aguero fed Sterling, who tapped in a third. Job done for City. They could have had more. They were able to make changes ahead of their Champions League campaign. No one expected much from Fulham, and so it proved. City 3, Fulham 0.
Yeah, so City keeping up the pressure on Liverpool at the top. City 13 points from their opening 5 games. And next up, we're going to go to Huddersfield against Crystal Palace and Derek Clark.
Full-time Huddersfield Town 0, Crystal Palace 1. A wonderful solo goal from Wilfred Zaha has won the points for Roy Hodgson's men. The goal came in the 38th minute when the Eagles forward picked up the ball midway inside the Huddersfield half before charging down the wing and firing a shot into the far corner. The host pressed for an equaliser. Aaron Moy coming closest with a shot firing inside of the post, and Hazanai also came close, but it's finished here. Huddersfield 0, Crystal Palace 1.
Huddersfield are going down.
Yeah, it's the old tricky second season sort of theory, isn't it?
And they're probably not going to sack their manager. It's not like...
Well, it wouldn't make sense to sack him, though. Really, would it?
Well, unless you sack him in December and you bring in a David Moyes type.
Big Sam, yeah.
Hope that somehow you turn it around.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because, are we hugely aware of their squad, of their players? But you certainly look at the squad and it doesn't inspire you.
Yeah. When you talk of, as we did, of Eden Hazard's importance and is he the most important player for his team, Wilfried Zaha is probably pretty close.
Actually, he probably tops that.
Statistically, I would say.
But I'm astonished he's still there. I'll be honest. I can't believe nobody poached him in the summer.
Yeah, Spurs, I guess, just didn't have the money was the problem for them. What a day and what a start to the season for Bournemouth. A convincing win over Leicester at the Vitality Stadium. Alan Lewis.
Bournemouth 4, Leicester City 2, a convincing win for the home side, a day to forget for Leicester. All the damage done in the first half. 2 very well taken goals from Ryan Fraser put the home side in front before Joshua King converted a penalty just before the break. Leicester's task was made even harder in the second half when Wes Morgan was sent off for a second yellow. Adam Smith then smashed home a 4th before 2 late consolation goals from Maddison and Albrighton made the score a little bit more respectable. Leicester had their chances in this one, but Bournemouth much more clinical in the final third. It's finished Bournemouth 4, Leicester City 2.
Still
Sweet
definitely
Caroline.
Understated. You looked a bit of Sweet Caroline at the end.
Yeah.
What Eddie Howe has done, 10 points from their opening 5 games.
Well, I suppose we talk about Huddersfield there and like the difficult second season, and Bournemouth have been through that process. They've survived. They had their rough moments along the way. But yeah, he stabilised them as a Premier League club. I mean, it is up there with the most impressive managerial jobs of the last sort of last 4 or 5 years. I mean, now there was this thing about Stoke, which actually ironically they've gone down, but they were like a target for a lot of clubs in that they went and they stayed there and they got out of that yo-yo syndrome and became pretty solid until obviously they fell through it. But Bournemouth are sort of, it feels like they're getting there, and that in itself is a massive achievement.
Yeah. Last stop is Stamford Bridge, where the day didn't start particularly well for Chelsea, but it was a comfortable afternoon in the end. Watching this, Andrew Cheal.
Chelsea 4, Cardiff 1 in the end. Comfortable for Chelsea despite the shock of going behind early to a Victor Bamba goal. Hazard's hat-trick, including a penalty, will grab the headlines, and rightly so. He was irrepressible, effervescent and unstoppable. Rawls and Reid did go close to equalising at 2-1 down. Shots both just wide. Willian's thunderous right footer completed the scoring. A deserved win and a scoreline that accurately reflects the balance of the game. Chelsea 4, Cardiff 1.
5 wins from 5 from Sarri. Just the 4th manager in Premier League history to achieve that. Who are the others?
Well, I presume Klopp has done it now. So
no, but from your first 5 games,
Mourinho might have done
as a manager.
Well, first 5 as a manager.
5 games
okay.
in the Premier League. See, if you were like me and sad and watching Sky Sports News at 10:30 last night when they did a lovely little graphic about it, you'd know.
No, I was at Dailymount, Nathan.
Oh, I was watching that on TV, Dan. I can be hipster too.
You said Guardiola.
Guardiola, 6 out of 6, won the first 6.
Mourinho with Chelsea.
No. Carlo Ancelotti won his first 6.
Okay.
You're going to struggle for the last, who won 5 in a row. Could well have been 2 seasons ago, I would say, at this stage.
Is it Ranieri? No.
Close. Yeah. Craig Shakespeare.
Oh.
His first 5 games as a Premier League manager.
You could have been some really bad radio if you had us guessing.
Go on. No, go on. We're not going to this ad break until you guess.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, then, it was just great radio. It was just the right amount of tension before we got the right answer.
Good people to want.
Before we wrap up and talking about problems in Irish football, why hasn't Killian Sheridan, with vast experience in Europe, figured for Ireland at least worth a try?
Yeah, it's funny though, although Kieran Cunningham I think is now surplus to requirements at his club in Poland. Jagiellona Bialystok or whatever they're called.
What's that there?
I'm actually not sure. I just think
the Jags,
actually,
as they like to call
the Jags, the Jags, I mean, he definitely he actually fits the profile of the type of player we would play against, playing for Georgia, or someone who's travelled and played in the top division in several countries. And I think O'Neill clearly just doesn't rate him. I mean, he's been asked about him several times, and I mean, is it based on what he saw of him when he was in Scotland or not? But he certainly doesn't seem to be convinced.
Quiz time again. Last time Killian Sheridan started for Ireland?
Oh, it was under trap. Was it against 2010?
Lionel Messi was on the pitch.
Argentina. I was going to say
first game at the Aviva Stadium.
Yeah, you could definitely do a good trivia game of who played in that game.
Yeah.
I think Keith Tracy was involved as well, and a few others.
Right, off the bench. Greg Cunningham off the bench.
Cunningham, yeah.
Yeah,
I saw
Keith Fatty and Keith Andrews in the middle of midfield.
I saw a picture yesterday of I think someone tweeted Keith Fatty tackling Messi. Yeah.
Yep.
Paul Green involved, maybe?
Paul Green was, according to this, out on the right wing.
Right.
Which was an experiment that we didn't really persist with.
No. Paul Green now, I think in the 4th tier, in England.
Right.
Chop loved him too.
Oh, yeah.
Paul Green, the glory days. Yeah. What we wouldn't give for Paul Green right now.
Simon
at his peak.
Caleb Follen, bring him back.
Yeah, lads, great stuff. Thanks a lot for coming into studio this afternoon. We'll talk to you again over the next couple of weeks. So that's the full-time scores. We'll chat to our reporters at the grounds, go a bit more in depth on those games next.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
Listen back to your favourite News Talk shows at newstalk.com and on the News Talk app.
Hiya, we're the Celebrations house band.